the Hammer Down Racing Report. And now your hosts, Scott Hammer and Ron Miller.
Mr. Don Radebaugh, how's it going?
I'm great. How are you, Scott?
Pretty good.
Good to see you.
What shirt are you wearing there? Salem Speedway.
One of my favorite all-time events. It's the Halloween 200, and it's coming up mid-October at Salem Speedway. Street stocks on the high-banked half-mile paved oval. They're the best street stocks in the country as far as I'm concerned. When these guys go down to Bristol for the Bristol Nationals, you can watch the running orders. It's always the Salem guys that are right at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These guys, Salem is Bristol, but Salem is rougher than a corn cob. It's a serious challenge to get around this place. It's a really cool race. It's been ongoing since 1989. It's the richest pavement street stock purse in the country, the Halloween 200 at Salem. They start 3 abreast, and they start, whoever shows up is going to be in the race. If 80 cars showed up, they'd start 80 cars. These days, they've grown way beyond the enduro race car. They're bona fide race cars now, race car bumper to bumper. So, you might have between 40 and 50, but it's such a cool race. It's one of my favorite shows, and I absolutely love. And I'll be announcing it, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that too.
There it is.
Yeah. I've been.
So you're still doing some.
I've been the announcer at Salem for the last 3 years now. So I travel. It's a 600-mile round trip.
Let's say how many hours does it take to get there?
Five. Okay. For the normal guy can do it in 4.5 or something. Me, 6, because I kind of put along like an old man and stop when I want wherever I see a brown historical marker sign.
Ooh, I gotta see this.
I'm really a geek that way, but Salem Speedway, since 1947. The history there is beyond spectacular. It's so cool, such a storied track, and this event is their crown jewel now. More people come to see the Halloween 200 than any other race.
Really?
Anything. Yeah. Lately, nothing has come close. It's a phenomenal show.
What weekend is it again?
It's I don't know it's mid-October, so it's April or April. There I go. You were calling out. Today is February 29th, leap year, I think it is. No, it's October 15, 16, 7, whatever that weekend is. It's a Sunday afternoon.
The Fremont race Friday night, and then head to...
It's a Sunday afternoon show.
There you go. And you could drive real slow then all day Saturday to make it in time.
It's such a cool race. I'm telling you, I absolutely love it. And I give a ghost tour of the track because we're getting close to Halloween. I give a ghost tour of the track. So we all carry around these little tiny candles. Ooh. And last year we were thinking we might get 10 or 12 people. Man, it was, I think, more than 100 signed up. I don't know and then it rained, but I don't know what's coming this year. But there's quite a bit of interest in it. And Salem, 11 drivers have lost their lives at Salem over the years. So, there are points of interest all the way around that storied track. It's really, I love the place.
Before we get into too much detail of
I didn't mean to do a Salem commercial.
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
No, it's fine.
This show's about you, Don.
Send him a bill.
See, that's a nice thing about doing a podcast. We can go on and on forever, or we can be as quick as we want. But give us a little bit of your background in racing. Let's just start out with the racing part of things, because you got so much going on.
Well, I know you guys are attached to Oakshade Raceway in a big way, and Fremont. I know Ron's building a lot of those truck chassis for Fremont. It started for me at Fremont Speedway, falling asleep under the covered grandstands when I was a 4-year-old kid, there to see my hero, Raleigh Beal. By then, he had actually moved on to USAC, but that's where it started for me. My neighbor would take us down to Fremont Speedway. My hero was Raleigh Beal. It's all I wanted in life was to meet Raleigh Beal. Then my parents got divorced, very traumatic thing, and my mom married the guy that owns Raleigh Beal Sprint Cars. So it was like, oh, Dad, get out. He couldn't leave soon enough, man. Not really, but that's the way it worked out. My mom married the guy that owned a sprint car, and suddenly as a little kid I was thrust into the USAC National Sprint Car League. And my stepdad, Ron Kilman, who owned the Rodeo Bar Special, won the 1973 USAC Sprint Car Championship with Raleigh Beal, the railroader from here in Toledo. He took me everywhere, and he knew I wanted to go, and I went everywhere, from Williams Grove to Ascot Park to you name it. I went. It was so cool.
our love of racing is very similar. When I was 6 years old, my dad sponsored cars and owned one car at Raceway Park, and he'd take me to Raceway Park, 6 years old, drop me off at the front gate, and he'd go on out back and take care of business, and after the races were over, pick me up. You certainly couldn't do that today.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a bygone era. Who takes their 5 and 6 year old kids and dump them off and I'll see you at midnight, you know? It's so cool, though.
But like you, I'm sure you had one of those little plastic cars, and you probably played with that plastic car under the grandstands. I know I've talked to dozens of people who shared the same experience at the old Raceway Park.
It was the same thing. Our parents would turn us loose for the day, and the racetrack became, as it was for you, an adventure land.
It was.
There was so much magic. And at that time, in the late 60s, early 70s, the USAC Sprint Car League was the sprint car league in this country. It was the World of Outlaws, All-Stars, USAC. It was the best of the best.
It's what everyone aspired to.
It packed the grandstands everywhere it went. You know, they'd come to Toledo Speedway, and I'd hear the announcer, you know, can you slide over and make some room? We're trying to get everyone in. And it was just, you know, they had Indy 500 rock stars that would drop in, Foyt and Andretti and Rutherford and Vukovic, and, you know, and mix it in with the USAC stars, the Gary Bettenhausens and Larry Dixons and Raleigh Beals. And it was an amazing childhood, and it really developed my love for the sport.
And while you were close with Raleigh, my family was very close with Jim McCune, and grew up with that family. So
how cool. Number 30. Or 88?
88.
Did he wear a number 30 for a while? Or am I? It's okay.
I think you're thinking of Harold Apel, maybe?
I don't know. Probably Iggy Katona or something. I'm way out.
No, Iggy was number 30.
Number 30, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's right. McCune was always 88. I'm sorry. But rich history here in Toledo. And Jim, you know, was a heck of a wheelman, too.
He was.
He was good. I remember watching him race.
His car owner, builder, Donnie Litton, lived not real far from us. So obviously I spent a lot of time there, besides my dad's service station where 2 or 3 cars were already parked.
Yeah.
A lot of things in common, Don.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love it.
I've got 2 Ron Millers here.
And we couldn't have grown up in a better time.
Oh, I can't agree. Racing, you know, it's awesome today. I do think as cool and as awesome as racing is today with all the technology we have, it's great. It's so much fun to watch. But for me, going back to that era, it was more, I'm not going to say it was more exciting and better racing than it is today, but to me it was more interesting. And I'm going back to the era before me, too, when the men that climbed in those open-wheel cars without power steering, you know, they reached out and pumped the handbrake, pumped the mechanical fuel pump and pulled the handbrake.
And just a little loop behind your head.
And exactly, a little roll bar behind your head. Exactly. And you know, open face helmets, of course. And you could actually see, and I do remember this as a kid, the open face helmets, of course, but what was there was so much character to that because you could actually see the expressions on their face. I mean, you can't even see the driver now. You might see the little bubble of a helmet.
just a t-shirt.
Oh,
no driver's suit.
Seriously? I mean, can you imagine? It's no wonder they came by the tens of thousands to see these gladiators, but you know, I just the era.
Look at these stupid guys wearing T-shirts in these cars.
I mean, Mobile Oil T-shirt, yeah, with cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve. You know, just a phenomenal era, and you know, so many men didn't survive that era too, and they really helped pave the way for the superstars we know today.
So back to you. How did you, from your childhood, get into announcing and then working for ARCA? When I got in late, I got in the game late because I never announced till I was 32. You know, most announcers are doing it in their 20s, you know, and they get started early. I got started late. I was going to Toledo Speedway and local tracks, and no offense to those still living, but I'd sit there in the grandstands and I'd listen to those announcers, and I'd say to myself, well, you know what? I think I could do better than that guy. I don't think he's very entertaining at all. I think I can do better. Now put your money where your mouth is, right? Long story short, I went to the Bowling Green Mall in the dead of the winter, back when they'd put all the race cars on the mall floor.
I remember those days.
Oh, I thought that was cool. But anyway, Earl Baltus was there with all his bodyguards or all those people that were around. I don't know who they. Well, I said this is my one chance. I walked up to Earl Baltus. I swear to God, I got on my knees and I said, "Sir, please. You don't know me, I know, but I want so bad to announce. If you just give me one chance, I swear." And I'm going on and on and on. And then he's looking at me like I'm a complete fool. And then there's dead silence. And now I'm just thinking, oh my God,
I've just embarrassed myself.
Like I did for sure. But then he looked at me and said, "Well, I'll tell you what. Come on out for the USAC Sprint Car opener in March. I'll let you do a heat race." And I said, "I'll be there." I was the first guy at the track that day. I swear. There was him and me.
You drive the water truck too?
I would, but I ran up to him. I said, "Mr. Baltus, it's me. You said I could announce." He looked at me and said, "I did?" I go, "Yeah. You don't remember?" He goes, "Well, get up there and I'll see that you get on." So I went up in the wheelhouse there, announcer, whatever it is, scoring stand announcer's booth, and I was so scared because I had never talked on the microphone before. And I didn't know if he's even going to come up. But I'll tell you what I did that day, which I still make a habit of doing now. I swear to God, there was 150 cars there that day between 4 divisions. I went around to every car there and took notes on every team there in case no matter what race I got, I was going to know something about these guys. And he went up. He put me on for a USAC sprint car 8-lap heat race. I remember Benny Rapp was in the race, I think. I don't know why I remember that, but he put me on, and I swear to God, I was so scared. My knees were like, I felt like you could hear them banging each other. But anyway, I did it. I summoned the courage, and I did it. And then he came up to me and he put his arm around me. He goes, "Here, son, this is Earl Baltus." He goes, "Come over here and scratch your name and number on the wall over here." And they were they had just put up new drywall. It hadn't been painted yet. And I bet it's still there, but I wrote my name on the Eldora Speedway wall and phone number about 3 feet wide.
Big letters.
Big letters. I'm sure they covered it up. And then I came back for a show, an all-star race, and then Max Warnock, the promoter of Portsmouth Raceway Park, was there and said, "Son, you want a full-time job?" And I said, "Yep, I'll take it." He goes, "Don't you want to know where it is?" I go, "I don't care. I'll take it." And so for 3 years, I drove to Portsmouth Raceway Park on the Ohio River from Toledo, Ohio, just to yak on their microphone, just to get started, just to get my opportunity.
Great racetrack.
I love that
and wonderful promoter.
Yeah, absolutely. I never had, you know what? And you going back to your early days in the sport, you reflect back, and those were my best times. Literally, I had so much fun. But that's how it started for me. I hope I didn't go on for way too long on that.
So how'd you get involved with ARCA then?
Well, I had been announcing, and then I got more local. I was doing Limaland on Friday night. Earl hired me as his full-time announcer finally at Eldora. I was Eldora's announcer in 1996. I was there 1 year. And
that's when I started at Millstream.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I was before Eldora, like about 93, I was doing Limaland, sometimes Fremont on Saturday and Millstream on the way home on Sunday. And then Eldora creeped in, and I was doing that more full-time, well, every time they raced.
Scott, you probably replaced Donnie.
I think Wade was actually...
Wade Unger?
Yeah.
He's awesome. The Australian announcer. Yeah, he was just kind of coming in when I was getting out. Anyway, so, yeah. I was doing that, and then... I guess making a name for myself locally, and Ron Drager, the president of ARCA in 1996, called me and said, "Do you want a PR job? Our guy is going off to do TV on ESPN, Ray Dunlap."
Sure.
And I said, can I call you back on that? You know why? Because my dream in life was to be the announcer at Eldora. I didn't want to leave. That was all I wanted out of life, and I couldn't believe it actually happened to me. But I wasn't going to leave Eldora, and then Ned Jarrett reached out to me, believe it or not, and said, "Don, you ought to think about taking that job at ARCA. I think it would open some doors for you that maybe you can't see right now, but when you consider where they go and what they do, I think it's a wonderful opportunity." So I called Ron back and said, yeah, man, I'll take the job. So I was their PR director for 22 years.
Wow.
And that was a great era that I went through, by the way, the Frank Kimmel era. And
oh, yeah.
It was so cool.
So when did you and ARCA part ways then?
I left ARCA in June of 2018.
Is Charlie in your job now?
Yeah. Charlie Crawl has the job I had. It's so much different now, though. The PR director back then is way different than what it is today. I mean, NASCAR owns ARCA, so things changed in a big way. Just as NASCAR was coming in, I was leaving. And I didn't leave because NASCAR was coming in. That wasn't it at all. But now, I've had some opportunities to get back full-time in racing. I haven't taken them because I take care of my mother full-time. So that's why I came up with the History Mystery Man thing, so I could go on my time, on my schedule, and structure my schedule around the days I want to take. So
before we get into the History Mystery Man thing, I wanted to ask you, with all the announcing that you've done, what is the craziest thing you've seen on the track while you were announcing?
Craziest thing, boy, that's
or at least one of the craziest.
There's been a lot.
Well, there has been a lot, good and bad, and everywhere in between. I remember, once when, a funny thing to me was a flagman for ARCA was just waving the flag up there one day. It might have been at Flat Rock, an ARCA race at Flat Rock. I don't remember that part, but he was, the yellow flag came off. And he didn't realize it, and they're going, put it out, put it out, put it out. And he's just frantically waving that stick, but no flag attached. I know that's that's not much. Sorry, I kind of fell down there. But if I come up with something throughout this broadcast, I'll bring it to your attention. But I saw some great racing. I know that. The first time I went to Daytona, there were 72 entries for the Daytona ARCA 200, 72. I
remember those
First
days.
time I went to DuQuoin, the mile dirt, which those were my favorite, by the way, Springfield and DuQuoin mile dirts. First time I went to DuQuoin, we had like 64 entries. And, man, it was tough. You had to make the race. You had to work your off to make the race.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just show up and you're in.
Was it just qualifying for that back then? Or?
Oh, yeah, straight up. They'd start 41 on those mile dirts.
Okay. Wow.
And, but you'd also send more than 20 home.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough. Yeah.
So let's talk about this History Mystery Man. How did you come up with that name, and what is it? What's it about?
Well, I don't really know. That's the mystery. I haven't figured that out yet. I've even thought about changing my name, but I was just doing I'm a history geek. Seriously, especially American history.
That's why you stop at all the little brown signs.
You know it, man. I'm so annoying to travel with. That's why I usually just travel alone, because nobody wants to deal with every brown historical marker sign every 6 miles. But that's what I do. I was making posts on Facebook, little historical posts about Abraham Lincoln. I love Lincoln. And a friend of mine from high school said, hey, those are cool. You should keep doing that. He goes, you should get your, you should blog, he said. You should blog. So I checked out all the blog sites, and I called him, and he called me back a couple months later and said, you ready? I go, yep, I'm ready. I'm going to start blogging. I'm going to start sending my stuff to blogspot.com and blog this and blog that. He goes, whoa, wait a minute. Send it. No, you don't send it. Don't give your stuff away. Create your own brand. Come up with your own name. Create your own brand and go from there. So I don't know how it came to my mind, but I came up with History Mystery Man, and it kind of stuck. I had thought about recently changing my name, but it's
you already built that brand.
It's almost too branded now to get away from it. It started out as just writing historical articles, and it turned into things I love with video. And if you see my videos, it's nothing more than me walking around with a cell phone. It's kind of embarrassing, but that's how I do it. But I do small town America. I do history. I do racing. Most of my audience wants racing. That's what I give them mostly. But I do drop in some small town America segments, and I do a lot of I do some maritime stuff too, because I was in the maritime industry for 12 years. So I the Great Lakes maritime history is really super duper popular. My highest ranking video of all time is one I did on the Edmund Fitzgerald last year about this time, because it went down in November of 1975, but there is worldwide interest in that. So one thing grew to the next, and I don't know where this History Mystery Man thing is going. I'm just going to keep chipping away at it and see what happens. I've met some wonderful people, people watching from Australia and New Zealand and South Africa, and I've heard from Ireland, and it's just really cool to connect with the world this way, because I mean, this is me. I mean, it's the authentic me, as close as I understand myself to be.
And if you want to check those videos out, you can just search History Mystery Man on YouTube
or Facebook. I want to point people to YouTube. That's where I can begin to earn a little money. So I'm trying to point people to History Mystery Man on YouTube.
Just do your promos on Facebook and get the hook.
Point
set.
Everybody to.
Yeah, I kind of do that now. I put the video story up on Facebook, and it links you to YouTube. So I'm trying to groom people just to go to YouTube. But
and how often do you put up a video? I saw you put up one just last night.
Well, I'm going to. I try to do no less than one a week, because my videos, they tend to be on the longer side. They're at least 20 minutes, so they're actual movies. So one a week, sometimes as much as two a week. And I've got enough content right now to make probably 8 to 9 more movies. I mean, I was at, what's that racetrack? Wayne County Speedway Tuesday night with Kyle Larson's new High Limit Sprint Car Series.
Oh, they got rained out?
Yeah, which was a bummer, but
there's a lot of people there.
Oh my God, the sprint car field they had was awesome. However, it got rained out, yes, but I got my interview with Kyle Larson, so I was cool. I got what I came for,
That ought to be a big one.
And I got out late. I got out early because the show was canceled. So I went to downtown Worcester, and I combined it with a little small town thing, which is. It'll be done tomorrow, actually, or tomorrow or Saturday.
Which one, the Larson or the Worcester, or both?
They're good. It's combined.
Okay,
it's combined. And a lot of people don't know who I am out there when I'm trying to interview drivers, and they're busy and all that. And drivers will decide they're too busy and they won't interview with me. Like, no, I don't have time right now.
Well, you need to have a History Mystery Man shirt.
I do.
There you go.
Yes, I do.
You need to have an apparel trailer with you wherever you go.
There's a lot of things I need, but my point is, Kyle Larson. So I've interviewed him 4 times. He has never ever turned me down for an interview.
Wow.
I mean, it's 4, but hey, he's Kyle Larson, who I think is the greatest driver in America right now.
And
some people
amazing talent.
Yeah, beyond. I mean, the skill. I think he was just. I don't want to say he's not learned it and perfected it along the way, but he's born with something that other people don't have.
He's an AJ Foyt, a Mario Andretti. He's just got.
Where would he rank on the all-time driver? Like those drivers Ron just mentioned. Is he the best ever, or who would you say is the best ever? Okay,
I would say Kyle Larson is the best driver I've ever seen in my lifetime. There is no one doing what he's doing, and what I mean by that is, running as well as he does. He's the defending NASCAR Cup Series champion. Signed his new contract with Hendrick, but nobody's doing. You got Cup drivers coming over and playing with sprint cars here, there, and everywhere, but nobody is winning.
Yeah,
he climbs out of his Cup car and goes to a World of Outlaw race and wins a dang race.
He didn't win. Was it Tuesday night? I think it was Tuesday night.
Wednesday night.
Last night. You're right. Last night.
Atomic, in a late model.
Yeah, he was up to the top 5, and then he started falling back.
I didn't say he won them all, but the fact.
But he has won in the late model.
I was at Eldora with a World of Outlaw late model as early spring this year. He won the dang race. Davenport, all the heavy hitters were there. So no one is, these guys like to play in their sprint cars and dirt cars every now and then, but nobody's going to the big leagues of the World of Outlaws, Lucas Oil, late model series, and actually winning,
But Don, he's the one that was kind of a groundbreaker with drivers running in different series. If you look recently, the Cup drivers were in a cocoon, and that was all they could do. And he broke ground by running in all those different series.
Tony Stewart kind of did that, too. But just in the sprints.
But Mr. Hendrick gave him his blessing to do it. And now you see these guys honing their skills on dirt because they think it helps them in the Cup series.
It must. I mean, so he was going to run his high-limit sprint car tour at Wayne County Tuesday. As you mentioned, Scott, he was at Atomic last night. He's at Tyler County Speedway in West Virginia tonight in a dirt late model. And then he goes from there right to the Cup. Where's Cup at this weekend? I don't even know.
Talladega.
Oh, is it Talladega? Yeah. Oh, got to see that.
He's been at Millbridge. The little
he's fun to watch at Millbridge.
Yeah. He does that. He does it all. I mean, what hasn't he raced?
He's so cool. I really admire that guy. It's hard for me to walk up to Kyle Larson and ask for an interview. Hey man, I'm the history mystery bad guy. But I said I know, and it's usually the same thing with me. Man, look, Kyle, I know I'm a pain in the ass, but just 2 minutes, if you could, he goes, you're not you're not. Come on up here, and then that settles you down that you can get the interview you want. But I really, really admire him. And yes, if I had to choose one guy, I'd say he's the best driver. I don't know if maybe the best driver in the world, just because nobody's doing what he's doing. Now, when I say that, Formula One people balk and say, hey, they're the best drivers in the world. And maybe they are. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, I'd turn that around any day. Put a Formula One guy
in
a sprint car at Wayne County on a Tuesday night, and then we'll talk.
Send him to Eldora.
Okay, you pick one. Oakshade. I don't care. I mean, I think he is just a fascinating character, and he's been super kind and courteous to me, and I'm so grateful when I can get my little cell phone camera in front of Kyle Larson. My numbers go up. It helps my cause, what I'm doing. Maybe if I could get an interview with Ron Miller sometime, my numbers might explode. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But it's
try it and find out.
Yeah.
So I've got stories that go back a whole lot deeper.
You would be very interesting to interview because we have similar pasts. You grew up like I did, and we grew our love for the sport in the same way. So
20 minutes ain't going to cut it.
No,
I don't need a longer video.
I'm
for that.
talking way too much here.
Multi-parter thing. Who's the most entertaining driver you've interviewed as far as the interview portion of it? Because some drivers, some drivers, they give yes, no, yes, no.
Who's really cool? Have you ever heard of a guy named Thomas Meserol?
Oh, yeah.
The sprint car driver.
Yeah,
he's awesome. I was at Eldora for the Four Crown Nationals this past weekend covering Kaylee Bryson, the young lady doing so well, and I was just kind of hanging around in Meserol's pit, and this has never happened to me, but he came up to me and shook my hand. I mean, he didn't know who I was. He just saw me there and said, "Hi, I'm Thomas Meserol.
What are you doing in my pit?"
He didn't know. It was just I'd never heard a driver, come up to me and introduce themselves to me, which is cool. I said, and that opened up the door for me. Hey, can we get an interview here? Can I talk to you? He goes, absolutely. So he was really, really super entertaining. Ken Schrader is beyond awesome. I don't know that there's a more down to earth real human on earth than Schrader, and he's so dang funny.
A couple of years ago, we had Kenny Wallace on, and that one.
Oh, that was
that one was a hoot.
He was on your show?
Yes.
Oh, how cool!
He didn't come in here. No,
I know, but you had him. You had him on the phone, right?
Yeah.
He's a very. I just did a show on Kenny Wallace racing his modified at Limaland earlier this summer that did very, very well. Yeah, entertaining wise, Kenny Wallace would certainly rank right up there. Yeah, for sure.
So what do you enjoy most about putting those the videos together? I mean, do Do you prefer doing just the history ones or the racing ones, or is it the same?
I'm such a history geek. If I could just get away with history and small town America, which I love.
Maybe you should make like two channels.
I do it. I know.
History Mystery Man Racing Channel.
It's too much work. No. I can't keep up with what I'm doing now. It's all.
You don't want
to
divide your audience.
Well, I don't. They may already be divided. I don't know. I'm just going to mix it all there. I've heard that you got to have a specific genre and stick with it. Well, that's not me. I'm not just racing. There's more to me than, cars going fast in circles. I love history. I love small town America. I love the maritime industry, having worked in it for 12 years, right out of high school.
So why? What is it about history that you like? How'd you get into that?
I went to the library when I was 9 years old. And I came home with a children's biography on Abraham Lincoln. And it was a pretty big book for a little kid, I thought. Hardcover book. And I locked myself in my room and shut the door and started reading that book. And I did not come out of that room. I did not come out to eat. I didn't come out to go to pee. I didn't come out till that book was done. I had my.
I hope it wasn't too long.
I forgot about everything. I got lost in that book, and I had never got over that experience of reading that children's biography on Lincoln, and I've been studying about him ever since. I mean, he's my man. He's the man for me. Yeah, I mean, I've been in his. He owned one home in his lifetime. It's in Springfield, Illinois. It's still there. It's now a national park, and it's still free to go in.
Do you have an episode on him?
I do, okay. A few, but okay. I think I've been in his home more than he was in it. I mean, I just so the history thing. I don't know. People say you should always live in now and look ahead, and I'm spent a lot of time looking back, but I love that.
You got to learn from the past so you don't repeat the same mistakes.
That's true, and we cannot even begin to know where we are or where we have a chance to go without understanding, on some level, where the hell we came from.
That's it.
I find history fascinating.
So what did you teach as a professor at UT?
I taught
history. It's going to be something
business communication. I still don't know what that is, but I taught it. But the thing I got pretty good at was I taught media writing, which is the difference between writing for television and writing for radio, or writing for print. Yeah. So I did that, but mostly it got into public presentations, which was teaching the students about public speaking, getting up in front of a class and getting somehow, some way, on some level, comfortable with it.
Our producer says Larson won his heat race, and he's going to start on the outside pole of the Hillbilly 100 today.
Awesome. Hillbilly 100, that used to live at Pennsboro.
Yes.
And now it's at Tyler County in West Virginia. But, yeah, I am a forever Kyle Larson fan. And, he's the best in my book.
And he's still relatively young, too.
Yeah. I mean,
he's not 16 or like some of these kids that are coming in, but
no, he's in the middle of his career.
As cup careers go, he was actually a little on the old side getting in.
Yeah. What do you think about drivers now kind of having to bring a sponsor with them to get a ride?
And especially you're seeing it in the ARCA series.
Yeah.
16 years old and they're running speedways.
Well, if you're coming at 16, you're not coming with your own bag of money. It's someone else's.
You can bet on that.
But it's a new era. I mean, if you want a good ride in ARCA, you've got to have the financial connection, whether it be a wealthy family. And I saw a lot of that, rich dads bringing their kids to ARCA, and they could live there, for a few years. But if their kid didn't move on, they'd say, okay, I've spent about $5 million. I'm done. $6 million, I think it is. So we're done. But that's just the nature of the beast now. There are still a few stories out there where kids bringing their helmet bag and getting that opportunity. They are very rare now. You have to have the connection. Even if your last name's Earnhardt anymore, it doesn't matter. Right. You got to have the backing. But Chase Briscoe went and slept on couches at Cunningham Motorsports and swept the floor, and Briggs Cunningham took a liking to the heir to Procter & Gamble, but took a liking to that kid, got him the ARCA ride, and then you see where he is now.
Right.
Yeah. So have you ever been in a race car?
Yes.
Raced competitively?
Well, I did race go-karts at Hasselback Speedway in Fremont.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was in a race car one time.
And how'd you do?
Oh, it was remember the Detroit Iron Class at Toledo Speedway, the quarter mile?
I do.
Well, they had it was my Randy Cornett let me drive his car, because I helped him one night. And there was like 40 cars there, and I had never done it before. And, I didn't know, I hadn't have a clue. I was all by myself. I had no help, but I did make the feature. And just barely from my heat, and started dead last. I made about 3 laps, sailed over one of those tractor tires, came down on the front end, both tires exploded, and I drove slowly, cautiously, away around turns 1 and 2 back to the pit area, blowing my horn, man, that I had done it. So I'm going to say, did I ever race? No.
Well, it sounds like you did.
Well, okay, if you want to count that.
You had fun.
Yeah, well, no, I was scared to death, actually. But
another one of those knees knocking together moments.
Yeah. So those cars, man, they didn't have anything in them. I didn't even know that thing had a cage. It did not have a cage in it. There were no sidebars in the side.
Might have had a roll bar or something.
I think there was just a roll bar behind me. But if you got hit in the side, you were in trouble.
Were you wearing an open face helmet and a T-shirt?
I did have a full face helmet and my black leather jacket.
Were those in the Sonny Adams days, or
that was cool, man?
Was that Sonny Adams days or Herb Adams or Herb?
That had to have been Sonny Adams days.
Okay.
Yeah, so no, I never raced. I was too chicken butt to race. I mean, growing up as a kid in that 60s and 70s, I saw drivers die, and it did have an effect on me. It scared me, and I don't know if I just don't have the courage for it, but I knew early on that that's not what I wanted to do,
So no desire to get back in a race car after that Detroit Iron incident?
Not even with all the safety equipment they have today, no. No.
So
Royce says you were pretty awesome in a go-kart.
Oh.
I thought I did pretty good. I won the first race I ever entered.
Really?
Was this a dirt track?
No, it was a road course in Hasselback Speedway in Fremont, Ohio. I had a Margay Pro X chassis. I thought I did well. I thought I did very well. I thought I had a knack for it, but again, I flipped one time on that thing and flipped bad, and they don't have roll cages, as and I got tossed out, of course, but it bothered me, and I thought, and I hurt myself. I hurt my back, but I was okay. But I said, this isn't going to be for me. But I thought I did well. When I crashed and I was laying on my back on the pavement, I remember looking up into the sky, and one of the first races I saw was Royce Cornett, because he was there. Looking down, him and Bill Schneider were looking down at me like, "Are you dead?" Oh God, no.
So you're sticking to being the media guy and just doing the.
Well,
interviews.
I mean, my racing career is over. I'm doing some. This is probably my last year announcing at Salem. The announcing part doesn't hold the magic for me like it once did. It was so cool and so much fun for a while, but now, I'm gonna play history mystery man. I'm gonna see where this thing goes. But beyond that, I don't really want anything out of this industry anymore. I spent 30 years full time in the industry. That's plenty. I do have interests, as you know, outside of racing, and So yeah, no, my racing career is, for all intents and purposes, over outside of the history mystery man.
All right. Well, if you ever miss it, I always look for help at Oakshade to help me announce.
Well, if you were couldn't be there, I live here in Sylvania, just like you do. If you couldn't be there, I would absolutely go out and cover you or something like that.
See, Scott does.
And guess what? And the good part is, I don't want your job, dude. But I would cover you.
That's
if you
okay.
I'm sorry, Ron.
That's all right. Scott does double duty. He races. So
how do you do that? Racing and
It's a lot of running.
He doesn't even
I made a video this past week just to kind of document it. I've been doing it for like 10 years. And
seriously, you race your super stock.
So
right?
yeah, so I go.
Or thunder stock
we
or
start
whatever
the
they are.
show,
Super.
and then a couple races before my race, I'll have somebody that I've already lined up that helps me. He steps in, and I run back to the pits, get all suited up, get in the car, go out, do my heat race, get unsuited up. Hopefully I didn't break anything, and then don't have to do any post-race stuff. Otherwise, my crew chief kind of handles all that. I run back up to the tower. Well, I take off my fire suit, run back up to the tower. Good until feature time. After late model feature, usually I run back down, get back in my fire suit, do my feature race, take it off, go back up to the tower, and finish off the night.
Now that's a cool story. That's the stuff I look for. As far as little side stories and cool stories like that with flavor, there's
no history there, though.
I don't care. It's got serious flavor to it. You're the only human on earth I've ever heard this story from. So when you're in the car for the heat race, is someone covering you on the mic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's that? Just
various people.
It's various people.
Like the fan drinking Budweiser?
No,
Hey, let me up.
Sometimes
I can do that.
aspiring
All you gotta do is
announcers.
talk, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not too hard.
So someone does fill that space for
Yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah. They take over.
If you ever can't be there, I'd run out there.
All right.
And dude, and keep in mind, I don't want a job.
That's okay.
I don't want a job. But.
I'd rather race than do the announcing thing.
Would you really?
Oh, yeah.
Don't tell Pam.
I know. Pam, if you're listening to her.
And you've been the announcer at Oakshade since when?
2000.
Wow, that's a long tenure at one track.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very rare.
I resisted the urge to get into racing as far as owning my own car until 2013 at least. So I held out for a while.
That's 22 years.
He had a test drive in a late model for...
Yeah, this guy made me run his late model. I didn't wreck it, though.
No, just darn near.
Why not?
Scared the hell out of me.
Oh, come on. Well, that's cool. That's 22 years the announcer at one track. That, I mean, kind of like Brian Lisky.
Yeah,
he's been announcing at Fremont forever.
Well, you know, Rick Eshelman.
Of course.
He was the announcer. He was my predecessor at Oakshade. I had met him when we started announcing at Millstream back in the late 90s. And then when he got the job at Eldora as the announcer down there, he told Pam to call me, and that's how I became the announcer out at Oakshade.
That's so cool. I wonder how long Brian Lisky has been at Fremont.
For as long as I can remember.
Before you.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great announcer.
Oh, yeah.
I like listening to him. He's really, really good.
He does there, Attica and Mansfield.
Yeah. Did you
worked
say Mansfield?
Waynesfield.
Oh, Waynesfield. He does all three of those?
Well, Waynesfield only runs like
3 or 4 shows a year.
less than a handful of races. Yeah.
He's good. I like him.
Yeah, I worked with him once at Millstream back when they were trying to revive that track about 10 years ago.
Is that when the Hammers were trying to?
No, this was before that.
And you're no relation to the Randy Hammer?
I am not.
No. Okay.
No, I think the Fremont crew is actually running that race in cooperation with, what's his face, the owner.
Greg Rowe?
Greg, yeah. I couldn't think of his name. I think because Greg called me and had me work with Brian and the Fremont guys.
Sure.
And then there was once I worked with Jerry. That's how I met Jerry.
Jerry Keyser.
Who was the announcer at Waynesfield and current announcer at Lima Land and Montpelier, Indiana.
And you even worked with Larry Jewett, didn't you?
I did not.
I thought you shared the microphone a couple times when he came up to visit.
Maybe when he visited, but I wasn't really... He was just visiting.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he was working. But so once again, I don't want to make this about me, but once again, how can people get a hold of you if they have an idea for something for you to check out, or maybe there's a driver to say, "Hey, want to interview me?"
Yeah, I mean, you can go to History Mystery Man on Facebook. Well, I mean, you can leave your comments on my YouTube channel. Okay. Leave your comment there. I'll reach back to you. You can messenger me through the Facebook app, and I answer everybody too. I mean,
even Ron.
You do Facebook Messenger?
Is that a thing, or did I? Yeah, I do. And
do you have a TikTok? And a Snapchat?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
That's two no's.
I have much more. No, I have more respect for you.
It's all about that. You can only do so much, I seriously, I take care of my mother full time, and I play History Mystery Man around that. So I have thousands and thousands of hours in editing these shows together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the time. I do scratch my head at night wondering to myself, why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? And then I'll hear from the people saying, man, we really like that. It was so cool. And it helps revive me to keep me going. But, I mean, you go out with your little cell phone on your little gimbal stick and you bring back all this footage. You bring back 2 hours that you have to cram into 20 minutes. And it's kind of like, it's like heaven, and you lay all your clips on the timeline. It's kind of like being a painter, and you have all these clips or paints that you can choose from and create this
all these colors
piece of art, all these colors. Yeah, absolutely.
Tye Twarog and Nick Hoffman. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, let me remove this out. There we go. Second year driving for Tye Twarog there in the number 9, coming off a Rookie of the Year season last year. Was that your first full season driving a late model then? I know you've had some late model experience in the past.
Yeah, for one, I'm really nervous that this is live because me and Tye are kind of a different duo than you would expect from the car owner side. So you never know what might come out of our mouth. But yeah, that was my first full season. I've probably raced 7 years now of part-time, kind of in and out, and obviously racing my modified full time. So last year was the first year that I only made one modified start last year. So yeah, it was first full year, and just to be able to race all over the country and do it full time definitely helped me out.
You were associated with Scott Bloomquist for a while. What was your impression of that whole program?
I mean, as an outsider, everybody kind of sees how Scott is, and I'm telling you, deal with him day to day is very similar. He's actually a very down-to-earth kind of guy. Was fun to be around, but just super smart. I was lucky enough to, take in a lot of his knowledge and stuff. And then,
well, and you came in with a fair amount of your own knowledge too.
Yeah, and obviously, they were at the point right there that felt like they were kind of in limbo mode. They were kind of struggling a little bit, and then Scott was obviously hurt and stuff. So that was the reason why I came in, but. Cody Summer was kind of the one that put that whole deal together. Me and Cody go way back, and he's the one that kind of put it together since he was managing the team. So it was fun to race with him for a couple months there, and kind of brought back old times for us. And I think kind of propelled my career into getting my name out there more. Obviously, driving for the biggest name in dirt late model racing, can't hurt. That's for sure.
It's got to be pretty much a role reversal driving for Tye.
Yeah, like right now it's all in my hands, and Tye kind of lets me do whatever I want.
So Tye, how did or when, I guess I should say, when did Nick get on your radar to eventually get behind the wheel of the number 9? Uh-oh. We can't hear you, Tye. You have no audio. Can you hear us? Shake your head if you can hear us. Okay.
Oh, good.
We can't hear you, though.
You might have your mic muted.
Or try... wait.
You good now?
Hey, we got you now.
That's a whole lot better.
Listen, I'm not a computer guy. I'm like old school. I still handwrite slips.
So, hey, it's all good.
Yeah, old school. But no, in 2022, after the Dirt Track Championship era, Devin had a little discussion with Sellers, and we talked about things there in November, and obviously, that's a way better opportunity. I mean, it's a big-time money team. It's pretty much everything he wanted. So we went different ways, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I beat it around for a while. And then I believe December, me and Nick finally put stuff together, and we had a race in January. So,
wow.
Last year was pretty much a throw-together team, a little bit everything everywhere. But, this year we'll get a little bit better, and who knows what next year will be. Hopefully it might be better. You never know, you know what I mean? But I would say, last year was a successful year, for how we threw shit together, you know what I mean? I mean, it was last minute ditch effort, we're in a World Outlaw Tour, which ain't no joke. He's never been on a tour, so we made a whole year, and we didn't kill each other, so it was a good deal.
So, did you have anybody else on your radar when you needed to fill the driver's seat there, or was?
I mean, you know how it is. You know, you get every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You know, everyone wants to drive your race car. You know what I mean? And they've all won hobby stock races or 4-cylinder races, or I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of people. I had really, I mean, guys that's won national championships before. I had a pretty good deal there, but you know what I mean? I like Nick's. What I like about Nick is his work ethic. You know, he's like me. We work morning and night. That's what we are. You know what I mean? That's the people we are. And that's what I like most about him. And he's successful, and we're going to do what we can to be successful. I'm going to supply him the equipment. He's going to do the rest, you know?
And it sounds like it's a pretty good match so far.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pleased with everything so far. I got a little bit of things on my end. We got to get a motor program. Now we saw what we need to do. We get that a little bit better. Just all around, we'll be a little bit better, you know?
So Nick, what's the best thing about driving for Tye?
Yeah, I mean, like from day one, this was kind of the opportunity that I needed to be able to have everything here in North Carolina is big. I've raced for a lot of teams and a lot of, you know, really good people throughout the years, but it's so tough for me, like obviously owning my own business with Elite Chassis, trying to oversee all that, and then try and race for somebody that's in Kentucky or Ohio or wherever gets very difficult. I'm very hands-on. I want to oversee everything. I want to kind of call the shots as far as crew chief side. So it becomes difficult when you're not there every day. So now in this situation, it's been, you know, really good for me. I got, you know, I brought in one crew guy of my own, and then Tye had one, and then now we kind of jumbled some stuff up, and we got 2 new crew guys for the rest of this year. But it's just the way it goes, and we're working on a new shop right now. So literally everything will be in under one roof and literally at my house here. So that's going to really make my life easier. I feel like it'll make our race team better, and at the end of the day, my business better.
Any chance that Elite Chassis will make a late model chassis as opposed to just the modifieds?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and I have no intentions, and I want nothing to do with that. The modified market is a lot different than the late model market. The late model, you see, you know, right now Longhorn's really big. They're, you know, what everybody wants. You know, next year it might go back to Rocket, or, you know, somebody else might come, you know, along. It floats way too much. And the technology side, like, I feel like I keep up with it pretty well. And the modified side, it's really easy to kind of get on top and stay on top, where it just doesn't fluctuate near as much. So I want nothing to do with it. Longhorn's been great to us, me and Tye both. And, you know, to work with Steve, and they're literally, you get on the main road right here, we're on the same road. Longhorn Chassis and Elite Chassis is on the same road. So they're not even 5 miles down the road. So if I need something, I can run over there and get it. And they've been great to work with.
With your engineering background, have you been able to give them any feedback?
Yeah, there's some stuff that we were working on last year that was kind of different from everybody. And we never won a race with it, but we were really close. Like, we led some laps and was really competitive with some outlaw races. So there was a lot of areas there that we kind of bounced ideas back and forth, me and Rumley mainly. So, yeah, I feel like they not really, I wouldn't say they use me as a guinea pig, but like there are some areas that I feel like I can kind of help the whole program. And so I try and help them as much as they help me.
I would imagine it gives you some credibility just with your background when you go to talk to them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everybody looks at us as competitors because obviously they build modifieds and I build modifieds, but we don't even look at each other as any kind of competitor. There's enough to go around for everybody, you know, so they're going to still sell, you know, 50 modifieds if they want to, and I'll still sell my 30, 35. So, yeah, I mean, everything that I do on my modified side doesn't affect them. They don't affect me. So I try and just do whatever it makes best for our team and everything on the late model side.
Now you've driven a lot of different, I mean, you ran the Chili Bowl Nationals, you've run midgets, modifieds, late models, you were even in the NASCAR Truck Series a couple times. Is there anything you haven't driven yet? Have you driven a sprint car?
No, I've never drove a sprint car. So me and Ricky Stenhouse are obviously really good friends. He's one of my best friends, and that's actually where our late model team is housed out of his house, out of his property. So everything's at his shop right now. But me and Ricky have always talked about it, like me going 360 racing with his dad or something. I want nothing to do with like a non-wing car at all. You know, a midget's enough for me. But yeah, I've been fortunate enough when I moved to North Carolina from St. Louis. did the whole asphalt background, trying to go to NASCAR, ran Bandoleros, Legend cars, asphalt late models, Allison Legacy cars, ran 3 truck races when I was 18. At that point, I had already started dabbling back into modified racing and dirt racing. So made a living dirt racing. That's what I kind of grew up around with my dad racing, and it's kind of, what I enjoy the most.
I was just going to ask if you preferred the dirt over the asphalt. So
any of them asphalt guys, they prefer the dirt too. I mean,
the one thing about the asphalt series is that Cars Tour is making a big impact, Scott, and it seems like they're grooming their drivers to go to NASCAR. It seems like that could have an impact.
Yeah, for sure. You look at like a Carson Quapple. He's gonna run a couple Xfinity races. Josh Berry, there's been a lot of guys that come up that route. And luckily, a guy like Dale Jr. is actually putting a lot of asphalt late model names in seats that really deserve it. I mean,
Bubba Pollard, yeah.
Yeah, this deal with Bubba is going to be really cool. And that's what we need in the whole, in all of racing, not just, asphalt, but dirt racing, the guys that really deserve it.
Junior call you yet?
No, Junior's actually been a really
Ty's
cool
like, no.
Junior's been a pretty cool dude. When I won in 2012, I won the Gator Nationals. Junior set me up with VIP and everything in his bar in Charlotte and all that stuff. I didn't even know the guy, but he did it all for us. It was pretty cool.
Wow. So speaking of Kenny Wallace, he was in your modified at Volusia last month, and I guess you kind of put him in that deal because he wasn't going to race. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, last year I called him when we were in Florida. He wasn't racing. It was the first year he missed at Volusia, and I was like, listen, the whole morale of the pit area is down because Kenny Wallace ain't here. He's just a super fun guy to be around. We have a lot of the same background of living in St. Louis and moving down here and stuff. So he's been a customer of mine for now a couple of years, and we put that deal together to bring one of my personal cars. We actually raced out of Tye's trailer. So had to have all my late model stuff ready to race the following week, and brought him down a brand new modified, and was able to win a Gator. So that was our end goal, is to at least win one, and we had a shot every night. Who
gets to keep that trophy?
Yeah, he took that one back, but luckily I got one the next week for myself.
Nice. That's pretty cool. I just totally lost my train of thought there. So why did you decide to start building your own modified chassis back in 2012?
Yeah, I was a kid straight out of high school, and basically came down to trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do for a living. That's what it all boils down to. My dad was an engine builder, and I never got into the engine side. I didn't really like it, and I was more into setting up race cars and going out there and sucking and figuring out why I sucked. So that was kind of what I was more intrigued by. So decided to build a car, and was successful right out of the gate. Was very fortunate to win the Eldor Fall Nationals the very first night in an elite car, and it just spiraled out of control. So now I'm a 19-year-old kid at this time, and I'm starting to take on $20,000 deposits and stuff on cars. And, I'm 19. I've never even seen this type of money before. So it all came to me pretty quick, and I had to figure it out pretty fast. And now I think we've built, a little over 250 cars, and I've made it this far.
Tye, is this his experience with building chassis? Was that something that also kind of got your attention there?
Yeah, you think about the whole 9 yards. I feel like he's definitely what you need in a driver right now. A driver has to understand it's a race car, and these guys just getting race cars out on drive, that ain't happening in today's world, But we actually assemble Longhorn chassis at our place. We do about 20 a year, so we got kind of the same situation going on. He just makes more money than I do.
The cool part is if he screws up a car, he can fix it.
Well,
we've done that.
We've had that. We did that, so it'd be all right.
Kyle Keach here wants to know how did the name Elite Chassis come about?
Yeah, really just more or less really sitting and laying in bed at night trying to figure out what the hell I was going to name this thing. And I, from day one, was I want to be the guy that builds the nicest shit. It might cost a little bit more, but it's going to be, elite. So that's kind of where I landed, and I wanted it to be an elite group of people. I think everybody kind of knows I don't just sell them to everybody. There is a lot of people that get their hands on them that probably I would rather them not, and you get yourself jigged and everything else. So we've seen a lot of that in the last couple of years, but just you ain't going to control that. But just try and build it as like an elite group of customers and our cars. So yeah, I've always strived to build the nicest piece out there.
Now, did you know you were onto something big? You mentioned the first night out where you got the win at Eldora in the elite chassis.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a couple months to really sink in of like what I did, and I mean, really more or less than a couple of years. So it was pretty wild. It's like kind of a Cinderella deal. I think we won the first 6 races we raced with it, even into Speed Weeks the following year. So it was pretty wild. So that car, I still have that car, the very first elite car. I said I would never sell it, so I never did. Max McLaughlin actually won his first ever dirt race in it. So that car's got a lot of history, and I still have it. I rebuilt it 2 years ago and raced it at Bristol. And I was like, this is our last race with this car. I just want to say the last race was at Bristol. It'd be kind of cool. So I ran Bristol, and it's sitting in my storage container right now. And it'll actually be hung up in my shop, in my bar of my shop, when we're done with it.
So it really was the last race. You didn't decide to change your mind, or?
No, yeah, that was the last one. We stripped it, and it's still got the body and everything on it. And then it's going to go in just kind of as a museum piece, something to drink beer and talk about.
There you go.
Now, Tye, what are your expectations for the number 9 team this season?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big expectation guy. Obviously, obviously your goal is.
How about goals then? Let's go with goals.
I mean, obviously, goals. I mean, you want to win races. You want to be competitive. You want to be consistent. So, I mean, obviously.
Well, you already got to win. So.
Yeah, which that's pretty crazy. That's probably a race of the year already, pretty soon. But anyhow, I mean, we ran 5th last year in the World Outlaw points, so we want ourselves to be a little bit better. You know what I mean? So we finished better than that. I'd say, hey, it's been a good year. You know what I mean? But also a good year to me is not blowing motors up and tearing cars. So I'm a little different than most car owners. So I mean, as long as them guys ain't jacking around and we're having a good time, that's all that cares. You know what I mean? As long as we ain't tearing a lot of stuff up, when you tear race cars up, motors up, it's a long year. I've done it before.
Dick, your goals the same then?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want to win races. But for me, end up in the top 3 in the points deal, still be in the hunt at the end is a big deal for me. We would have been right there in the thick of it already if Thornton blew up right in front of me in the last night of Volusia, and it killed the nose and put me out of the race. So I go from being 3rd in points, leaving Volusia, now we're 6th and kind of, got a little ways to go. So, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is I set a pretty high precedent for myself of, like, I want to win races, and I hate losing more than I love winning. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing is, like, go out there and do whatever it takes to try and win races. And we're going to race more than we did last year. Tye basically leaves it up to me. Like, if I wanted to go race Brownstown this weekend, I could go do it. But I treat it as a business, like it's my own race team too, and so I try and make our money go as far as we can.
So who gets to keep all the winnings?
I don't think anyone keeps saying winnings.
Goes back into the car.
I call it donation. Raisins donations every week. Just how much you want to spend, donate.
Gotcha. A question for both of you guys. Nick, as a driver, what would you say has been the biggest win of your career? And Tye, as an owner, what would you say is the biggest win for you?
Yeah, for me, that one the other night at Volusia was huge. I mean, that was probably, I would say, my toughest win. Like, you look at all the guys that were there. You had all your Lucas guys. You had literally the best guys in the country. So that one was huge. So as on the late model side, I don't think anything tops that one. My first LO win was cool, but it was, started on the front row, led every lap type deal. Like that deal, last lap slider, was pretty damn cool. And then on the modified side, I think the only thing that I haven't won that I really wanted to win was the Dome. And I was closer in the late model than I've ever been in a modified. So I'm pretty pumped up to go back there again this year in the late model.
What about you, Tye?
There's so many different things there you can say. I remember back in the day, 2015, I won my first World Outlaw race there at Screven with Steve Casebolt. That was probably a special moment, winning that, coming from, a dirt garage floor basically, then, heading out to the Baker Leagues and winning a race, so that was a big win. Obviously, Me and Devin won up, Fairbury to Perry Dirt Classic, which was a big deal. Then, I mean, it don't sound like a big deal, but we ran third at the $1 million race, and paid $50,000, then, Nick's side of things, I mean, I feel like that Jim Dunn race is kind of a special moment for us. That got us over the hump and got us really going, and obviously, the Volusia win here, I mean, Volusia, that's the World 100 field of cars you went, you just won against, so that's a pretty special moment as well.
So how many drivers have you had?
I've had, I mean, touring wise, I ran the Outlaw Tour in 16 with Case Bolt, 17 and 18 with Devin Moran. Then we ran the Lucas Oil Tour in 2020 with Devin Moran. Then obviously Nick ran it in 2023, and then here we are on 24 on big level. We had some local jocals, but I mean, honestly, nothing against the local scene, but it's big boy racing when you got on the road. I figured out that in a hurry there in 2015 and 16 how things roll.
Is it even worth competing at a regular weekend show as opposed to one of the series as far as the money goes?
I mean, for us, for my team, our team, we can't go and run for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. We got to run for some kind of money and good payoff on back because that's what Nick needs to get a paycheck. Everyone needs to get their, a little bit there. I mean, we go to one of them races, and I mean, them $2,000 races, you can win them and we're still losing money. So anyhow, that's basically where I saw in 2015 where the bigger stuff. And plus it got me away from the local scene because I saw them parts and you know how that is, local guys running into my car. I'm running into their car, my guys. And, I mean, we went old school knockout, drag out fights, yelling, they turning steering wheels. So, it's a way different league here now. So,
what are your thoughts, Tye? I know you have problems with the payouts at local races, but now with the Ironman series, it's kind of a regional series and seems to be paying pretty good money. Do you think that's going to be the future of dirt late model racing, or are local tracks going to be able to hang in there?
I mean, local racing, I think local racing's in trouble, I mean, the problem is for us big time racing, we got bigger payouts. We got bigger payouts now. We're running for more money than ever. The point fund's good and everything. And these local guys, they're paying the same price we are for stuff, and their payouts are the same.
Yeah.
I thought you got everything for free.
Yeah. I wish I did. Not anymore. Right?
So,
but
go ahead.
Anyhow, the local guys, like I said, local guys are still spending. It's costing them $600-700 to go run a late model now, on a regular night, and they got to run second to break even, and just it's
right. Well, and that was my thought with that Ironman series. Not a lot of travel, $5,000 to win, $500 to start. At least that's what Sam's claiming. Is that the future?
I mean, I think it's good, for the good local guys. That gives them an option out around the tour and stuff like that, But you got your guys that just love the sport and go racing as well. Those guys are still going to be your local guys. You won't see them at them races. But I still think, you look at those races, you're looking 25, 30 cars. You're not, these big car count days on them races are done, I think.
I miss those.
Yeah, and he's right.
So why'd you guys decide to chase World of Outlaw series or follow the World of Outlaw series as opposed to Lucas Oil the past 2 seasons or last season, this season?
I mean, on my side of things, I can tell you right now, I run both series, and the Lucas Oil series costs a lot of money to run. We run a lot of 100 lappers at that deal, a lot of motor bills. Lucas Oil series obviously they got this best to pay out a lot of money, but people doesn't understand, it costs you that much more to race as well. The Outlaw deal, I like it. It's more low key. It fits our style. You're 50 races a year. It's a good little deal. We end up in Charlotte there at the end of the year. It's a nice deal. We have our banquet. We go home with our point check, So it's more our style. 50
shows with World of Outlaws and a few others thrown in. That's a pretty big season anyway.
Well, who knows this year? I'll let him race what he wants this year. He wants to race 100 times. He can this year. We got the equipment now, and we're getting where we need to be. And, he's not going to get any better if we don't race. That's the way I look at it. And that's the deal, when you're running these bigger dudes, bigger races with bigger guys, and you got to get more laps. You got to be them guys are little ahead of us right now because they ran a lot of races. This guy's only ran one full season of Dirt Late Mall. You know what I mean? So people don't understand. I mean, we're the kind of the guy under the radar right now, and I like being that underdog. So when we can show up in the races, I like that. So
that's awesome. Nick, you had a kind of a scary incident a couple of years ago, an accident on your way to, you were headed to Illinois.
Yeah. So I think that would have been Labor Day weekend. Big modified swing, 4-day swing. And been fortunate enough to win that deal, like swept the whole weekend, like the last 2 years prior. And was in the chase for the UMP national title again and was going for my 4th straight. And we were getting close to the end of the year. And, it was just, a normal weekend for us. Headed down the road, and it was about 2 a.m. We were rolling through, close to Louisville, Kentucky, and a semi without a trailer, so he's just bobtailing, was on the shoulder, and he was in limp mode, trying to make it back to his shop, and come out into our lane, I think, to go around like an exit ramp or something, and I was in the passenger seat, and we ended up hitting him, running 65 mile an hour, and so I hit the whole right side door and everything. My dad was in the back. He ended up basically in between the driver and me. My crew guy was driving. He took the steering wheel with him basically all the way to the windshield. And he was very fortunate to even walk away from it. But it's pretty wild. I spent 3 days in ICU. They took me straight to intensive care, put me on a breathing tube, the whole deal. And I walked myself to the ambulance. Like, I don't remember anything. It's all, from we stopped at Buc-ee's from then on. Like, I don't know anything until 3 days later. I wake up in ICU, and I don't know anything that happened, So just wild that it knocks you out. I said I got up. I had a skull fracture. I had brain bruising, brain bleeding, brain swelling, the whole deal. Got up, stuffed myself in like one of the couches and said my head hurt. And then I got out of the truck and sat in front of the truck and then walked myself to the ambulance, and they took me straight to ICU, and I don't know anything for about 3 days, So pretty wild, but it definitely gives you a different outlook on life of, you live every day to your fullest and be very fortunate. But I got 2 kids and stuff is like, it definitely changed my outlook.
And 3 weeks later, you got back in the car and won.
Yeah, that was kind of stupid of me. Yeah, that was just one of those deals. Like, I'm trying to race for a living, So I was still in the chance of winning the national title, and that's a $20,000 deal at the end of the year. So I needed to win 2 or 3 more races, and was able, I didn't get clearance by anybody to really go do it. And I was just living my life as normal as I could after it, and still had, skull fracture and everything else. And I didn't really know how bad it actually was until finally I seen x-rays after this. And they're like, I could have been, scattered pretty bad if I would have hit my head again. So, I was able to win that race. And then I was like, after that weekend, I was like, I better just call her off here. So, and then of all places to go for my first race back after that was Chili Bowl, which is, a good possibility you'll end up on your head again. But yeah, I was basically fully recovered once I got to Chili Bowl, and then got me back in the seat to get ready to race for Tye, just literally a week after that.
So is your dad fully recovered? He broke something in his back?
Yeah, he broke his back. Yeah, he broke his back. He's as good as he'll ever be. He's obviously 58, 59 years old. So he don't recover near as good as we do, but he's just something he's going to have to deal with for the rest of his life. He's just sore. I mean, he gets around just fine. You wouldn't know any different, but he's just sore getting up and down and stuff. And then my crew guy Mason, he was completely fine as far as made a full recovery, no problems. And my biggest problem is just short-term memory, basically where I hit my head. They say all your short-term is basically in your temple area, and that's where my bruising and everything was. And it could take up to 2 years to come back fully, but for me, I think we're all screwed up, and we don't have short-term as it is.
I understand.
What? Who are we talking to? No, that's crazy, man. So it'd be 2 years this Labor Day then.
Yeah. So I feel like I've made a full recovery. I'm as good as I'll ever be, and it hasn't affected me at all as far as my racing side or anything that I'm doing.
How about how bad was your equipment damaged?
Yeah, I mean, the toter home was obviously killed. I mean, it wrapped the frame rail around the right front tire. It was destroyed. The trailer's in the process of getting fixed right now, and it wasn't too bad. So it's getting fixed. And then everything inside the trailer was fine. My dad's pit bike was about the only thing that really got destroyed because the motor came out of the cabinet and landed on top of the pit bike. But the race car, everything inside the trailer was like literally perfectly fine. I got very lucky that the trailer never hit the guardrail. The truck hit the guardrail, but the trailer never came over and hit. So the trailer literally had some damage on the front of it, and that was about it.
Dean Henry wants to know how difficult it was to get the NOS sponsorship.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, Ricky Stenhouse is one of my best friends, and he is NOS's number one guy. So at the end of the day, if you're going to get sponsored by NOS, it normally gets run through Ricky at some point. You know, like he's the guy that's a determining factor, like yay or nay. And being best friends with Ricky was kind of parlayed that whole deal. And I got to know Lauren. She's basically the marketing manager. She's the one that kind of calls all the shots for NOS. So she's done a lot for me even before I was a NOS guy. So we hung out and went to a lot of places together and stuff. And so just to kind of tie that whole deal in, it's really cool for our team because it gives us a huge national branding, basically. Makes us look way more professional than me and Tye actually are.
Is that a comment or a compliment there, Tye?
No, I'm just true hillbilly. You know what I mean? I ain't no one special. You know what I mean? It don't matter to me. I wear $10 jeans, $3 shirt. Don't matter to me. I ain't nobody special.
Nick, do you have any?
Hey, tell Dean we need a lot of food and chicken wings there because we got a guy named Black Magic and he likes chicken.
We like Dean's Pizza, but
yeah.
Nick, do you have any rivals or anybody you're not a fan of to race with? You don't have to name names, but
yeah, I mean,
unless you want to.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I mean, on the modified side, it was always me and Strickler growing up. You know, like
Kyle
me and him
yeah.
kind of hated each other. And now we're good friends or whatever, and we get along just fine. And then it came into like Mike Harrison. Me and Harrison went at each other pretty hard for a while, and he's hard to race against. So on the late model side, I mean, Chris Madden's one of the toughest guys I feel like to race against for me. It seems like if I ever show him a nose, it's like it gets way tougher for me to pass him than anybody else. So I don't know. I haven't really say I've got any rivals in the late model side, but Chris Madden for me is one of the hardest guys to race around.
Keep winning races, and then you'll probably get some.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say is more difficult to drive, the modified or the late model?
So a lot of people, ask this question, and I think, when Jimmy Owens did it 15 years ago, the modified was probably harder to race than the late model. But nowadays, the late model racing has changed so much that the late model is way tougher than the modified side. The modified, I say it a lot of times, the modified is very laid back anymore. Like if your car's good, you can kind of cruise and you don't have to press all the time. With the late model side, as soon as they drop the green, if you lay back at all, you're just going to get swarmed and you're screwed, So it's very aggressive. T-Mez says it best. I mean, you slide or be slid. That's basically, how late model racing has gotten anymore. All these, younger guys, I'm obviously younger than a lot of the best, I would say. The late model age group is very diverse. You got a guy like Tristan Moran who's 14, and you got, a guy like JD or Madden that are, getting up there, and I wouldn't say getting up there in age, but definitely older.
Careful.
I mean?
Just be careful. Tread lightly.
Yeah, so it's just very diverse. There's a big span, but I do feel like the best late model drivers are anywhere from say 30 to 45.
Okay, I guess we've aged out of that. I can't be a late model driver.
Yeah.
And you're gone.
I'm double that, dude.
So how you have merchandise? I'm assuming, and in your chassis. How can people get a hold of you or get some merchandise from you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm on every form of social media there is. I mean, Twitter, I kind of say it how it is. Facebook and Instagram, I'm a little bit more polite, I guess you could say. And TikTok, I've gotten into that quite a bit and do all that. But shopnh2.com is my website, nickhoffman2.com, is my racing website as far as my schedule and everything else. So yeah, I mean, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, any of the social media platforms.
Tye, does all of that go through Nick, or if somebody wants to offer some sponsorship, how can they get a hold of you?
They can talk to us, both of us. It don't matter. Well, I mean, it all goes into one. So
all right.
My situation, obviously, at my shop, people want to. They can buy T-shirts off him, but I want to buy race car parts off me. You know what I mean? That or sprint car tires. They don't matter. Go-kart tires. We'll sell them anything, So
how can people get a hold of you to get that?
My number's everywhere. It's the easiest number in the country. I tell everyone, 740-391-9990. It's all over the place. I get Mexicans calling me every day. I get Americans. You know how it is. You get telemarketers. So it's open to anybody.
Hello.
Kaylee, it's Scott Hammer and Ron Miller, Hammer Down Racing Report.
Hey, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
So you're
cool.
You're kind of in a weird place. You couldn't do the video?
Yeah, we're at a go-kart track right now. I just stepped outside, so I'm just going to be outside doing it.
Nice. Oh. Like a family go-kart place, or is this like a serious go-kart?
Now, you just stepped outside. Does that mean this is an indoor go-kart track?
It's an indoor go-kart track, yeah.
Oh, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're testing.
So is it raining there? It's raining everywhere else.
It's been raining off and on, so glad this thing's inside. Yeah.
So we just mentioned that you're the 2015 Tulsa Shootout winner, the 2023 Silver Crown Rookie of the Year, the first Oklahoman and first woman to do that, which I thought that was you got all kinds of different categories here. Is there anything that you haven't raced yet, and what has been the favorite thing that you've raced in?
Yeah, so I haven't raced like open wheel Indy cars, and that's something that I really would like to get into, is like the road course Indy car style, like the Indy Next Series and stuff like that. I think that's something I'd really, really enjoy doing. And something new that I've done this year is the road course racing with Trans Am. So I've been running Corvettes, and this is my first full year running road courses. And last year we got to practice them and test a little bit. We didn't really race last year, but really, really enjoy the road course racing. I grew up racing on dirt, so that's something I'm really enjoying, is learning something new on road courses.
Man, you've done all kinds of. What's been your best finish then on the road course?
First, actually, we just won. We just won 3 weeks ago, our first Trans Am race, which is really awesome. That is the first time I've sprayed champagne on victory lane, because you don't really do that at a lot of the dirt races. But that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Nice. Now tell us how you and Aaron Pierce first got connected. You're driving for Sam Pierce Racing now. How did that whole deal come about?
It's kind of funny. I've had several people ask me that, but really Facebook. So whenever we first met, I was running midgets at the time, and he messaged me on Facebook, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to run my car at Port Royal?" And Port Royal is a huge track, and I've never raced on anything that big, let alone in a Silver Crown car, which is like 3 times the size of a midget, what I was used to racing at the time. But yeah, he messaged me on Facebook, wanted to see if I wanted to come out and run it, and we've just built our relationship since then, and we've had a fun last 2 years, and we've raced all kinds of things together, from sprint cars, Silver Crown cars, road course racing. He's taught me a lot, which is really cool, and we have a really good relationship together.
So our listeners are asking, how old are you and how long have you been racing?
Yeah, I'm 23 years old, and I started racing whenever I was 9 years old, and I started racing in dirt go-karts. So I really learned how to race on dirt, and that is what I'm most used to. I started racing in go-karts, and I've moved my way up from there. I started in micro sprints, and that's where I won the Golden Driller, and I really started learning how to race in micro sprints. The go-karts was kind of just for fun, and start getting, used to racing. And then in micro sprints, that's where I really learned how to race, and moved up from midgets from there, and then got connected with Aaron Pierce and Sam Pierce Chevrolet, and we went Silver Crown racing.
And now you're doing the Silver Crown. I'm assuming you're running for the points this year?
Yeah, for sure. Last year we got Rookie of the Year, which was really cool. First year that's always your goal, is to get Rookie of the Year, and we were top 5 in national points, which was really cool. It's cool to back up Rookie of the Year with a solid point finish.
Gotcha. And that's your primary goal for this year then, is running the Silver Crown Series? I know you're doing a bunch of other things as well.
Yeah, for sure the goal is to run full-time in both the Trans Am and USAC Silver Crown Series, but at the same time, I want to run as many other cars as I can. Like, we were planning on going to Sandusky until it got rained out, but we'll be at a couple other races. There's a lot of cool races that the Must-See Series will put on that we'll try and hit up, and like in 2 weeks, I'll run a USAC midget again. I haven't been in one in a couple months, and I haven't been on dirt since January, so we're going to go to Belleville and run the midget and the Silver Crown in the same night, which will be really exciting.
Do you miss dirt?
I do. I miss it. I like being able to do both, because I really do enjoy the pavement, and it's been something new for me that I've been learning the past 2 years. But I really love racing both, so I'm really grateful that I get the opportunity to run so many different cars, which allows me to run so many different tracks, so many different types of racing.
So as you move up, NASCAR or IndyCar?
She said she wanted to get in an IndyCar.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
She said she wanted to do the road courses, but
right.
if she's going to commit to one,
if I had to, I don't know, I would. I've had so many people ask me that, and I don't think I even know the answer for myself. But obviously, I think the IndyCar stuff is really awesome. I would really love to do that, but at the same time, the NASCAR stuff is so popular, and it looks like so much fun. And now that they're doing so many road course racing now, I really do enjoy road course racing. So I think I would enjoy both, to be honest. If I could ever dip my toes in any of them, I'd be happy wherever I'm at, as long as I'm racing.
Now,
there you go.
The road course racing, that takes a totally different skill set than running around at oval.
Right.
Did it take a long time for you to kind of develop the skills for that?
Yeah, it's definitely a big jump going from dirt racing to, full body cars like Corvettes that have so much horsepower, and learning to manage your tires and shifting through the gears is something that I was not familiar with, but I was lucky to be teamed up with Aaron Pierce and so many great people, at LSI Logical Systems, and, Chris Santucci. There's so many people that are helping me, make that learning curve a lot faster. And I think that really played into our win a couple weeks ago, because we had a lot of good cars we were competing against. And I'm a rookie in the series, but we pulled off a win, and that's because we have a good car and a lot of awesome people teaching me and helping me get to that next step a lot faster.
Gotcha. Now we were talking about the Must-See Sprint Series, Must-See Racing Sprints. You got plans? Are you booked on Wednesday, July 24th?
Wednesday, July 24th. There was, I think, just a couple of days ago, we were talking, I think our next one that we're going to hit is like Lancaster. I think we were talking about hitting that one.
Well, they keep moving the Must-See Racing show at Sandusky Speedway back, and now it's part of what they have a high miler weekend. It's a big weekend of racing, and they have Wednesday, July 24th. The Must-See Racing 410 Sprints are going to. I think we are going to be there. Okay.
Because
cool.
It's not confirmed, but we were talking about that the other day, that we have a Silver Crown race like the 20th, but we're not doing anything after that, and I think we'll be in good shape.
There you go. Talk to Aaron about that. Make that happen.
We know the folks at Sandusky pretty well. Maybe we can promote some.
Well, Chris could probably talk to Aaron, yeah.
Yeah, we can maybe get some pit credentials.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that we'll be there, so I'd say we're going to count on that.
That's true, and it's a Wednesday night, so we don't have the show, so we can do that. So.
Yeah, that definitely makes it easier. Yeah. Nothing else going on a Wednesday. So.
There you go. So what in your career so far, what would you say? I mean, you've accomplished quite a lot, but what would you say your biggest accomplishments, for yourself have been?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of different things. Like I've raced, in the dirt cars. I've won a driller. I've made the Chili Bowl in a midget, and there's just a lot of different things that you can say on dirt. But I feel like the most that I've improved is definitely transferring to pavement. I've won a couple late model races, and definitely getting top 5 in national points last year felt really good in the Silver Crown Series, because I had to learn how to race on pavement. And of course, the win we had just 3 or 4 weeks ago in the Trans Am Series. I I think I feel the best about those just because I've had to learn so much and, really try to get those accomplishments. And there's just so many people that go into that. It makes it feel so much better.
And what would be the one thing, like maybe say within this year, next year, what would be, at the top of the list that you would like to accomplish? Maybe a USAC Silver Crown championship?
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that I would really love to do is to win a dirt race at Eldora in the Silver Crown card.
Yeah.
Because there's so many fans there. The vibe is it's awesome. And to win a dirt race in the Silver Crown card, that's something I really want to do. And just because I come from dirt, and it'd feel really like at home with me just to win a race on dirt in front of so many awesome fans. And hopefully we can make that possible at Eldora.
If someone came to you with an offer next year to go full time with the World of Outlaw, NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series, or even in the case equipment late model series, would you entertain something like that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, every kid, whenever you're growing up and you're racing, micro sprints, everybody wants to be a World of Outlaw driver. Like, I feel like that's everybody's goal. And you hear a lot of talk about people going NASCAR racing to make enough money to go World of Outlaw racing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, for sure. That would definitely be a huge dream of mine. And at the end of the day, as long as I'm racing, I'm going to be happy.
Who are some of your racing heroes, other drivers even that compete today that you kind of look up to?
Yeah, I think Kyle Larson's a big one just because he races so many different cars. And I feel like I kind of do the same thing, and I'm learning how to race so many different cars, so I kind of look up to him in that aspect for sure. So
someday you're going to do the Memorial Weekend double there, run the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600?
Well, wouldn't that be a dream come true? That's awesome that he's doing that. That'd be a dream.
Awesome. So this weekend you're going TQ Midget Racing, driving for Tony Stewart in Columbus, Indiana, his hometown. Yeah, we're actually going to be teammates, so I'll be racing against him. Hopefully we can pull off a win and beat him. Is there any team rules coming from him? Are you allowed to beat him? Or? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the boss man said, I don't care who wins as long as one of our cars win. And so that's the goal. I'm going to try and be the one to win. That's cool. Is this the only event you're driving for Tony this year? They said anytime I want to come back just to give him a holler, but as of right now, that's the only one that our schedule is allowing us to, but you never know what might happen in the future. Cool. Any dirt late model events in your near future? Not as of now, not planned on it. We ran like 2 last year, and those are exciting. They're really fun. It's different. I really had to learn how to trust the car because it feels like you're going to flip over every single corner because I'm used to driving open wheel cars, and it's a totally different feeling getting in a dirt late model, but no plans as of yet. I think if I was going to do anything, I'd try and get in a sprint car for sure. Winged or non-winged? Winged for sure. I'm a wing person, which is crazy because I've raced midgets from Silver Crown, but I think sprint cars with wings on them are pretty sick. I agree. I prefer wings too. Yeah. It seems to be the older guys like the non-wings. I like watching. I think they're prettier too. They're pretty with the wings. Yeah. They're prettier with the wings. They are prettier. Yeah, I think they're a little bit faster too, which is cool. I like. I just like the driving style, and the car is loaded up on the left rear, and that's kind of more my driving style. So, yeah, for sure. If I get the opportunity to jump in one, I'm going for it. Now, I kind of asked you this earlier, and you didn't specifically answer it with everything you've driven. Is there a type of car or race vehicle that you've driven that is your favorite, that you've enjoyed more than the others? Which one's the most challenging? Yeah, I think, so that'd be 2 different answers then. Okay. So the one that I like the most to drive the most is probably road course racing, which is crazy because I come from dirt. Most people would not guess that, but I love road course racing. Why is that? Why do you like that so much? There's just so much that goes into it, and I feel like the races last longer, and just the feeling of going through the gears is really exciting, and you're hitting some high speed, you're going through corners really fast, and there's just a lot more going on than just 2 corners. So I think that's a little bit of the reason why I like it a little bit more. Gotcha. And then
Yeah, and then for the car that I think is the most challenging to drive, that'd either be a Silver Crown car or a pavement sprint car non-wing, for sure.
Well, I'll bet on the pavement car on non-wing.
Yeah, non-wing pavement car. I mean, that's tough. I've driven one a few times, and I think that might be the toughest thing to drive for sure. You got your hands full.
So, do you ever have time that you're not racing, and what do you do when you're not racing?
Sleep.
Well, I'm not racing today, but I'm at a go-kart track, so that that kind of explains it for you. But yeah, I travel a lot, so I spend a lot of time on the road. And if I'm not doing anything, if I'm not at a go-kart track or on the road and racing, I'm probably fishing or doing something fun like that outdoors.
Gotcha. Now, do you have a favorite track that you've competed on, or would that be Eldora, where you want that win?
Ooh, that's tough. So I like, in the Silver Crown car, I really like Winchester on pavement. It's fast, it's banked, it's a lot of fun. So Winchester would be my pavement track.
Okay.
And
so you like running right at the wall?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
okay.
Yeah, and let's see. For dirt, I mean, Springfield was really fun. Whenever we almost won that race in the Silver Crown car at a mile track, right. I would say Springfield would probably be my favorite dirt track. And for road course racing, I've only been to a few, but Road Atlanta is really fun. But I have a feeling I'm really going to like Road America.
Very
I haven't been yet, but yeah, it looks like a really fun track.
Do you have plans to compete in? I guess it would be next year's Chili Bowl in January.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll be there. We don't have all the details sorted out, but it seems to be a race I'm always at.
Gotcha. How fun is that? I mean, that looks so fun to. Even just to be at, it looks like it's a blast.
Yeah, it really is. In the track races, it races pretty good. So you normally almost always get a really good track. And I think one of the best parts about the Chili Bowl is just the fans and how many people are there watching. So if you do something cool on track, it just makes it that much more fun because you have so many fans watching you.
Awesome. Any sponsors that you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely Sam Pierce Chevrolet and AP Driver Development. They've definitely kickstarted my career the past 2 years and have got me in so many different types of cars. And, Chris Santucci and RE Enterprises, LSI, has really helped me out on the road course racing. And, we all make a really good team and we have a lot of fun together and we get along really well. And that just makes it all the more fun.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the time and we're going to, I guess we're not going to hold you to it, but we're going to pressure you to make sure you get out to Sandusky Speedway for that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure we'll be there. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna be counting on that.
Where are you headquartered now?
I'm a little bit everywhere. So in the race season, I'm normally in Indiana, but my family's from Oklahoma, so if I don't have anything going on, mainly in the wintertime, I'll be in Oklahoma.
Gotcha. Have you driven You've driven a winged sprint car on asphalt before, just not with the must-see series.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
How wild is that? Those have to be
fast. I think those cars make you good in qualifying because you have to be up on the wheel in a winged sprint car on pavement. And, there's so much downforce, so much grip. I mean, you can drive it into the corner, and a lot of that is just trusting your car and having a good car. And I think that definitely helps me out in other series, like the Silver Crown series, whenever we go out to qualify, just to learn to be up on the gas and trust the car. I think a lot of that comes from the wing sprint car stuff.
Well, you have more balls than I do then, I guess.
Yeah, the cars are a handful, but they sure are fun to drive.
Let's bring Dustin in.
All right. Mr. Jarrett.
He's still there he is.
There I am.
There he is.
I'm here. Let's go.
Amazing.
Let's go. Hey, a shout out to Dale Cole, DCR Graphics, Weston, Ohio.
Weston, thank you.
Weston,
I knew they were around in here.
All right. Well, it's the power of Google is amazing whenever I'm back in the green room.
I thought you knew that. It was like your old friends. Me and Dale, we go way back.
Me and Dale, we're tight, man. We're tight. What's up, fellas? How are we?
Doing good. How are you?
Long time no see to both of you. I don't get up to Northwest Ohio as much as I'd like to anymore.
No. And I first met you when you were doing the announcing at Eldora. And do you still do some announcing there?
I still do the Dream and the World, and then this year I'll be back for the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. So their finale, the Dirt Track World Championship, is going to be at Eldora this year. So with our relationship at Flow with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, we're streaming all of their events this year. I actually will get to call that race as well. It's a super cool deal. Like, the 4 drivers racing for the championship, $100,000 to win race, $200,000 championship. That's going to be a pretty sweet deal.
That's been kind of a controversial, or I guess in some people's mind, kind of a controversial championship chase style, as opposed to just doing it straight up before they kind of go on after the NASCAR model there. I don't know. I could go either way. It doesn't bother me they're doing that, but you're looking forward to that then?
I am. I think it's here's the cool thing about it, right? Take all biases aside and things like that. 2 years ago, the winner of the Lucas Oil Championship got $75,000. Fast forward to this year, 5th place is $75,000. So there's the cool thing about it is there's so much money on the line. Look, we're all race fans, right? We come from a breed where we don't always accept change that well, right? We all get stuck in our ways. I'm as guilty as anybody. So when something like that comes along, I think it's kind of natural for us to be like, man, I don't know how I feel about that. Look, when that 3rd week of October rolls around and there's 4 guys racing for a championship, $200,000 to win the championship, $100,000 to win the race, I think everybody's going to completely forget whether they liked it or not, and they're going to be all in. They're going to push every chip out on the table for that one.
DJ, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about how dirt is grabbing onto some NASCAR things. How would you feel about a choose cone?
I think that would be really cool. It would.
I do too.
It would. Listen, we can all say this. There are some drivers that would get it. They would grasp onto it and understand it really quick. There are some that they would be singing the race car, scratching their head, saying, "No, wait a minute, where do we go? What do I do here?" So, I would love it if we could get the drivers to understand how it works.
What are you trying to say, Dustin?
They don't have
not at all, Ron. Nothing at all, Ron. Nothing at all.
The biggest difference is we don't have the spotters at the local level as the NASCAR guys do. So I think they kind of help with the decision making as far as that goes. But
leave it to the driver.
I think I'm with you, Ron. I think it would be great.
How cool? I mean, how cool would it be though? Like you got a lockdown racetrack, right? That's maybe somewhat one groove on the bottom of the track. You could have like 5 or 6 guys all in one line that choose the bottom. The 7th place guy goes around all of them and chooses the outside, and suddenly he's got a chance maybe for a podium finish.
Yeah, well, and the top side, the first lap or so, it could be a crapshoot, even if it is locked down on the bottom.
Ron, I don't think I've ever seen you run the top side before.
Hey, be still now. Old guys learn new things.
No, you mentioned MAV TV kind of joined with Flow Racing. I mean, was that a big deal for you? I know you're excited now because you get to call the Lucas Oil late model races.
Yeah, it was huge, man. It really was, and it's so funny how this sport works, right? Because we've got both personal and professional relationships that we grow close to, and sometimes you drift apart, not drift apart in a bad way, but you're closer to some folks at different stages of your life and your career than others. And in this deal, there was a time where I thought it was going to be really close and it was going to happen. And then there was a time where I thought, man, there's no way it's going to happen. And then really early to middle of last year, things really started coming together there. And man, it's been great. Not to sound like a politician, but I mean, all seriousness, it's been a really, really big deal for Flow. It's cool for me because I get an opportunity to do a few more races. I won't do the entire schedule with Lucas this year, but myself and my good friend Ben Shelton, we're going to join all of the races that are taped for MAV TV. So it's cool. It was also really nice to spend about 18 days in Florida in February too.
Yeah.
So
the weather up here wasn't horrible. So
no, I saw that.
Yeah, it definitely could be worse. Although I'm not sure what's happening tomorrow for Ron, at least north of the state line. I think is supposed to be.
Yeah, and I watched just before we came on, and I don't know, man. It could get ugly.
I'm working from home, so I don't care.
Just 4 or 5 miles south of here, it's going to be all rain.
What's the next trip for you, Dustin? Where are you headed for your next race?
So I actually leave in about 2.5 weeks. I'm flying out to California, not to call races, but to just to be on site. We have a USAC West Coast midget race at Bakersfield. A couple nights later, we have actually got the first high limit race of the year. We've got the Kyle Larson Brad Sweet series. Their first race of the season is going to be on a Tuesday night at Tulare, California. So I'm going to be out there for that as well. Again, I won't be on the call for that one, but I'll be there just to kind of make sure that everything is kosher. I'm kind of like a fireman, right? Like as long as the blaze isn't too high, my job's pretty easy. Fire starts getting too high, I'm running around with a fire extinguisher all night long. But I'm looking forward to that as well. That'll be 2 new tracks for me to go to, and then I'll head down to actually the Flow Racing or Flow Sports headquarters down in Austin, Texas for a few days.
Ooh. So are you going to be doing any open wheel stuff this year?
I am not. No, Ron. I was super blessed, man. I had the opportunity to call that very first high limit race last year for Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet, and that was cool. And full disclosure, and Scott, you'll appreciate this. Honest to goodness, I put more time and effort into my announcing notes for that race than probably any other race the entire year outside of the Gateway Dirt Nationals, because I mean I know those guys, but there, and again, Scott, you can relate, and Ron, you can as well. There's knowing guys, and then there's knowing guys to call the race, right? And especially with streaming now, when you're getting, 10,000+ different subscribers logging in and watching these races, you want to make sure that you at least sound like you know what you're talking about. So, Ron, I don't know, unless I jump on and maybe help Blake Anderson on an all-star race or two during Ohio Sprint Speed Week. It's probably just going to be late model stuff for me. But man, we've got so much of that now with Castrol Flow Racing Night in America and the 2 biggies at Eldora, and now these there's 12 or 14 of these Lucas Oil races that are taped for TV. That really and truly takes a big chunk of time out of my schedule. Plus, I got to come home every once in a while and make sure that my wife hasn't changed the locks on the doors, or has suitcases sitting outside, or dog doesn't rip my leg off up to my shoulder or something. Yeah.
Well, with the 2 major series, there really is no off season anymore.
Yeah. And then you throw in the Gateway Dirt Nationals, in St. Louis, Missouri. And then a few weeks after that, we're spending about 12 or 14 days in Las Cruces, New Mexico for the Wild West Shootout. Speed Weeks happens like a week and a half after that. So they're really, really right now. I'm at home for 30 straight days. I honestly think that's my biggest break of the entire year.
Let's talk a little bit about streaming of the racing. I mean, when did you get into streaming?
I did the second race that Dirt on Dirt ever did live. That would have been way back in 2011, I think it was.
Did they have color back then?
Yeah. Ron remembers when there wasn't color.
Yeah, buddy.
So I mean, production has come. I mean, leaps and bounds. Has had it's come so far over the years. My dad, walked in the room, was watching something, was like, "Is this on a network?" No, they do pretty good now with streaming.
Sort of, Dad.
Yeah.
We did this. So we did the USA Nationals at Cedar Lake Speedway. It was one of the very first live stream broadcasts that really and truly anyone had ever done at the time. And again, this is 2011. And there were some audio issues, right? And now when you have audio issues, it's relatively easy to diagnose. Back then, especially when you're first starting out, I mean, you're just running thousands of feet of cable, right, from a production trailer to the booth, and you're checking every auxiliary cord, and just you're jiggling every cord that you can handle. Well, long story short, they couldn't get it figured out, right? And so I literally stood on top of the press box with a microphone in my hand and was calling the race for the broadcast because we couldn't tap into the PA. Well, that was great up until the NAT sound, what we call the NAT sound, the natural sound of the race cars, was drowning out my voice. And so this is modern technology at its finest, right? So we took a cardboard case from a case of Mountain Dew and made a funnel out of it and put it on the microphone. I mean, so it's yay long, and I'm talking into this long funnel when I'm announcing, so that my voice projects down into it, and so that it doesn't pick up as much of the NAT sound or the natural sound of the cars. So that was one of the first events I did, and yeah, we've come just a little way since then.
Man, the camera work is spectacular anymore.
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable how far they've come, and I mean, it's and even the stuff that we're using at this level pales in comparison to what you see at college basketball or football or NASCAR or whatever else, right? I mean, and that's a true testament to the guys that are running the cameras, right? I mean, they're so good at what they do. They are on point with what we're talking about 80 to 85% of the time, and that's, everyone always asks, why can't we get the cameras and the announcers lined up? Again, I think we do a pretty good job of that. But here's the reason behind that. We'll pull the curtain back a little bit. So when we're calling these races, we're doing two things. I always tell people I have one eye on the racetrack and I have one eye on the monitor in front of me that shows me what the people at home are seeing. When you do that, there are things on the racetrack that I might see that our camera folks who don't have that same view, because they're looking at a viewfinder that's about yay big, right? They may not be able to see something that I see. So I want to make sure that I call that out, or vice versa. I might be so locked into a battle for a transfer spot that I might miss a battle for the lead that's happening on the track, and they're there to pick that up. So we're pretty accurate. Again, 80, 85, maybe 90% of the time. But to your point, Ron, the camera work is spectacular, and that is a true testament to the folks that are doing that. It really is.
And if people haven't been streaming any racing because of what they saw 10 years ago, they need to take another look.
It's not like a dude with his phone there in the stands.
That's a fact. That is a fact. There's never an exact science to it, right? Because you've got half the people that are saying you need to zoom in more, and the other half of the people are saying no, zoom back. We want to see more, and so you try to do that juggling act of what people want to see, and again, that's where it really comes into play, right? Because our video team at Flow and the others are like this as well. Whether it's Dirt Vision or whether it's Speed Sport or whoever it is. They're race fans, right? And I always use my wife as a great example. She's a volleyball coach, and I tell folks I could take a video camera and video a volleyball match, right? You don't necessarily. It helps if you know the athletes in the sport, but it's not a necessity. Racing, you can't just put someone on top of a press box that knows video equipment but doesn't know racing, because Scott, when we're announcing, a lot of times we get caught up in just saying. And just saying drivers' names, right? Well, if you got someone up top that doesn't know who those drivers are, they're going to be out to lunch. So it really and truly is a special skill for as much as it takes to drive a race car on the track or to be in a booth calling a race. I think it takes twice as much skill to operate one of those cameras and to keep folks at home abreast as to what's happening. Yeah,
and we only see just a few people on the front end of the broadcast. How big is a crew for a typical event to cover?
It really varies. I mean, we've got some that we can pull off, to the point of what we were just talking about with today's technology and everything. There's some that we can pull off with literally just a couple people on site. You can have an on-site producer, a camera person, and maybe one other, and that's it. You can even have remote producers now, right? You can have a camera person on site and somebody sitting at home actually, pulling all the strings to produce it. We do something bigger like a World 100 or a Gateway Dirt Nationals or something like that. There may be 12, 15 plus people on site to handle this. Gateway in particular, because you're inside the dome and you're trying to cover so many different aspects from not just the racing, but the fans, and you want all the different camera angles of what's happening. We're going to have 20 plus people on site for something like that.
I like the NASCAR-esque pit reporters. There's nothing like sticking a microphone in a racer's face after he's just stopped.
Well, the adrenaline's still going.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There are a lot of opinions about that. I have one that I'm obviously I'm not shy, right? And you guys have both known me for a while now, and I have no problem doing that for the exact reason that you mentioned. I want to get that raw emotion, and we're super fortunate. We're in a sport where we have access to the athletes, to the drivers, to do that. Not everybody gets that opportunity. LeBron James goes out and throws down a slam dunk or whatever. You can't just go up and stick a microphone in his face. But Shane Clanton, hits a Ute tire at the Wild West shootout and destroys his race car, and we can walk around on the racetrack and put a microphone in front of him and get that raw emotion. And I think that's something that often we take for granted, that we have that opportunity. But to your point too, Ron, again, we're really blessed that we've got some great folks doing this. My good friend.
Well, and not all racers are Charlie Hufford either.
That's right. That's exactly right. We've got Ben Shelton that works with us, who I truly believe is the best pit reporter in the entire business, and he knows not just the drivers, but he knows the right questions to ask at the right times to bring out those raw emotions of the drivers too.
So he knows the wrong things to ask.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So not to put you on the spot here, but what do you say to the folks that say that the streaming is hurting local racetracks?
That's again, that's a tough balancing act that you try to ride, right? It really and truly is. My biggest thing is I look back, and it's really hard for me to pinpoint any sport, racing or anything, where streaming has hurt that sport, where streaming has had a negative effect and driven that sport out of business. On the contrary, you look at things like pro bull riding or arena cross or, some the UFC, another great example, where those events, a lot of them started off as streaming and then they blew up in popularity because of it, right? When your favorite sports team comes to town, you want to go to that event and see them play. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan or a Cincinnati Bengals fan or whatever it is, and racing, I think if we do it right, can have that same effect too. If it's done right, we can get people to go to these racetracks and say, like, man, I got to get to Oakshade and watch Rusty Schlenk, or I've got to go see the World 100 at Eldora Speedway. Local racing as a whole, as the three of us know, and probably a lot of the folks watching as well, it's on a tough spot right now, right?
A lot.
There is not as much money floating around as what there used to be. The cost of everything is going up, and that's not a racing issue. That's something that we're all experiencing right now. And again, to be quite honest, there are less fish in the pond, and there are more fishermen, so to speak, also. And that also adds an element of diversity to all of this. So
you were talking about the Lucas payoffs, but the weekly tracks are in a real tight spot because their expenses have gone up, and they have to keep a tight rein on what they're charging to get in. So they can't match the purses that haven't covered the expenses for the racers.
Yeah, what's the old adage? If it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think of racetrack promoting as being at the very top of that list. We've probably all seen the meme, the Dr. Seuss meme of the book that says, "If I ran a racetrack," right?
Yeah.
It's very easy to be a Monday morning quarterback in this sport. I always tell folks, I've been asked before, "Hey man, we'd love to have you promote this track, promote this event." And that will always be a hard pass for me because I've got a pretty good group of friends. I'm not in the business to go piss anybody off, right? I got enough people that don't like me as it is. I don't need any more. I don't need any more people that don't like me.
So, through your career, who would you say has given you the best interview?
Wow, that's a great question. In his heyday, Scott Bloomquist always gave great sound bites. I think that we all know that. That's probably low hanging fruit. A few years back, we talked about the USA Nationals at Cedar Lake Speedway. A few years back, when I was at Cedar Lake, we actually did not have the race live that year. It was the first year that it was on Dirt Vision as part of the World of Outlaws program. That was also the same year that Bobby Pierce and Tyler Erb got together. They had their big on-track incident, and Bob Pierce ran out on the track, and, Tyler Erb tried to, drive away from him and officials. There was a whole lot of things going on. Turbo got thrown out. I was there, even though it wasn't live, but I was there and interviewed both Pierce and Tyler Erb afterwards. And those are sound bites that, number one, will always stick with me. But number two, at the time, and this has been, I think, almost 3 years ago now, that was the most watched clip at that time. The most watched clip in the history of Dirt on Dirt and the history of Flow Racing. Those two interviews right there. And so both of them are always really, really good for a soundbite or two, especially Turbo. You never know what the guy's going to say, and he's got that raw emotion that he always wears on his sleeve, and he's himself, and that's something that again, we're very fortunate we get access to these drivers right up front, close and personal like that, and I like it when they're themselves, when they don't have to play the political game, and they can give you those good sound bites.
Is the Charlie Mefford interview from Gateway Dirt National, is that the top one now?
Charlie is definitely up there for ones that I've seen. Blake Anderson was actually down in the infield and caught that interview, but it's so funny. Someone sent that to me yesterday, and again, these are things, and this, Scott, that you don't realize till after the fact, that I was watching that clip yesterday. I don't know that I had watched it ever, right? Since Gateway, and I'm watching it, and you can hear myself and Jerry Van Sickle and Ben Shelton laughing in the background while Charlie is talking also.
Yeah, we had him on the show a few weeks ago. He is definitely a character.
He's a peach, man. He's
real, and what you saw in that interview is really him.
And again, guys like that, or Tyler Erb, or Kenny Wallace, whoever, when they could be real like that and not give the cookie cutter interviews, I love that kind of stuff. And again, you guys know that from what you do, Scott. You know that from an announcing standpoint. It just you almost kind of feed off that emotion a little bit.
So, what about an embarrassing moment? What, you had any most embarrassing moments? I mean, man, something more than the Mountain Dew cardboard thing with the microphone.
I trip over my tongue probably more times than I care to mention. Truth be told, one of them was when Scott Bloomquist won the year in 2015. Bloomquist won the Dream at Eldora. It was actually the year he ended up being 25 pounds light at the scales.
Oh yeah.
Before that, when he's crossing the line, I actually said Scott Bloomquist wins the World 100. But it was the Dream, and so
that's not too bad though.
I caught it. It's not too bad.
You're at the right track at least.
Right, yeah, right track at least for sure. And I caught it right when I said it, and of course you have this oh no moment, and so I gave this little pause because again I kind of know how the process works, and I said Scott Bloomquist wins his 8th. Dirt late model Dream. And so I knew, and our editing team actually went back in, and now every clip you see of that race has that line in it instead of when he actually crossed the stripe. So thank God. And again, Ron talked earlier about how far we've come in streaming. Thank God for the editors, or else that would have been probably been more of a major flub than what it was.
Dean Henry, one of our listeners here, he's keeps mentioning these eating strawberries on the drive home this year. What's that? What's that?
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
That had to have something to do with Florida.
Yeah. So we so one of the biggest content pieces that Flow Racing has, and this started with Dirt on Dirt a few years back, is something called the Drive Home, right? So for the folks that are watching that aren't familiar with it, all it started was Michael Rigsby grabbing his phone, putting it up in the dash of his car and recording us guys talking on the way home from the race, just like the three of us would if we were driving home from Oakshade one night, sitting around talking and bantering and everything else. So this year at the track, they thank you, Kyle. Yes, the drive home is awesome. So this year they gave me a quart of strawberries up in the press box, and of course you know how it is when you're announcing, you really don't get a chance to eat or anything else, especially with these streams being live and everything. So, and you also know when you're announcing that you have this giant window of time where you can't eat at all, right? Like you can't eat anything when you're on the air. So I go from like 4 p.m. until 10 o'clock, 10:30 night. I hadn't anything to eat. So I'm walking out and we get to the car and I'm like, I am so hungry. Like we got to stop at Wawa on the way home. I'm starving. I realize, well, I got this quart of strawberries here with me. So on the drive home, and mind you, this is only like a 15-minute drive from East Bay back to the house, the rental house that we're staying in. I ate the entire quart of strawberries on the air on the drive home, which is again on YouTube and Facebook and all this other stuff as well. And I mean, we're talking big strawberry, these big, juicy Florida strawberries too. I absolutely annihilated those things on the way home, on the drive home. They didn't stand a chance.
No suffering afterwards?
No suffering afterwards. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I may or may not have washed it down with a little bourbon when I got back to the house.
So you mentioned the Gateway Dirt Nationals. I would kind of lean toward that as your answer to this next question, but what is your favorite event to cover?
Man, that's such a tough call because favorite is such a moving target, and that's not a political.
How about what are some of your favorites? How's that?
Yeah, there's a good one. Gateway is up there. Gateway is also, again, if I'm being very candid, is so much work, right? Because you've got, I mean, this past year we had 140 late models that were pre-entered, and I mean, I'm late model to the bone, man. I mean, I when I'm not announcing events, I'm watching at home on Flow, or I'm attending a local race, or I'm going to a new track I've never been to or whatever. But when you get 140 entries and you look down through the list and there's about 50 of those guys that you've never even heard of before, you are doing everything you possibly can. You're getting on Facebook, you're Googling them, you're trying to figure out any information that you can. You're reaching out to them on Facebook or Twitter or whatever else to get name pronunciations and accomplishments and correct hometowns and this other stuff. So it's a lot of fun, but man, it's a lot of work too. And again, this year Gateway is a great example. Thursday and Friday, super smooth. We're on the air for 5, maybe 6 hours, and that was it. And then you get a night like Saturday where, guys just kind of lose their mind and they're ripping the fence down and flipping over and everything else. And you're getting caution after caution after caution. And it's one thing when you have cautions at a local track, as you know, Scott, because you can just throw some music on, or you can just step away or let the fans enjoy themselves. But when you've got 10,000 plus people watching at home on a live broadcast, you can only cut to commercial breaks so many times. And so you have to fill dead air. And then before you know it, you're on the air 8, 9, 10, 11 hours. And that's, that can be a challenge at times too. But to get back to the original question, not to get us too far down a rabbit hole, that's one of my favorites. The Wild West Shootout has really become a favorite of mine. Vado Speedway Park in Las Cruces is gorgeous. It's just, it is one of the top 3-5 facilities in the entire country. What Royal Jones and his team have done out there is just spectacular. And it's not just a gorgeous facility, as you guys have maybe seen, has provided some of the best racing that we've seen anywhere all year, the last couple of years too. And so that's become one of my favorites. Eldora will always have a special place in my heart too, right? The World and the Dream. I mean, not just are they the 2 biggest dirt late model events in the entire country, but Eldora for me really and truly kind of helped propel my career. And Tony is still, I consider him a good friend of mine, and that will always have a special place in my heart too.
So you mentioned that you're all about dirt late models. Why is that? What's got you gravitated towards dirt late models?
You just don't know any better, right? and I say that tongue in cheek, but I grew up in and now live and have lived for the last several years now in kind of southeast Ohio, right? And so this area that I grew up in, that was really all that I knew. We ran late models weekly at a track that's just a mile down the road from where I live now called St. Clairsville Speedway. We would go there almost every Friday night and watch guys like Mark Banal and Ty Long and drivers like that race late models on Fridays. And then when they closed, the next closest tracks to us would have been Pittsburgh, which always ran late models, and then the Zanesville area tracks, R&R Speedway. Ron, did you ever get to go to R&R?
I've never been to R&R.
Yeah, it's been long closed. It's been closed for a little over 20 years now, but they ran late models weekly. Midway.
What are you saying, Dustin? Why would I remember something 20 years ago?
Hey,
that's too recent.
If I can remember it, I figured you could remember it too. But just south of Zanesville was Midway Speedway in Crooksville, Ohio. They ran late models weekly. And then in the early 90s, 92 or 93, the Moran's track, Muskingum County, had reopened, and they ran late models. So all of our local tracks always ran dirt late models. And so I didn't know anything else, you know. I mean, that was my life from the time that I was a child, really clear up until probably the mid 90s or so when, you know, sprint cars. And you think back to the mid 90s, that's really when the All-Stars kind of started taking off, and, you know, Ohio Sprint Speed Week started becoming more popular and everything else. But I'll always be a dirt late model guy. The last few years, though, I've really taken a liking to IMCA racing, IMCA modifieds, IMCA stock cars out in Iowa and in that area. Really competitive, really good. It really has brought the race fan in me back out, because they're so competitive. They're so close, and there's so much talent out there, and the tracks are just so well prepped. These are events where you can still go to them, and a guy can come from dead last and win, you know, and we still see that in late model. We've seen it this year, right? Hudson O'Neal wins Volusia from 23rd a few weeks ago.
Right.
Still see that in dirt late model racing and in sprint car racing, but it's more frequent with IMCA. And again, that I'm a race fan at heart, right? Just like you guys are. We're blessed we get to do what we do. But that has really brought the race fan back out in me, watching those guys out there the last few years.
Did your dad run late models at all?
He did not. No, he ran a mechanics race one time at R&R Speedway in my uncle's car, and won it. Actually, he won the mechanics race. He ran a sportsman car for a few years. So he started off in street stocks, right? And again, we're talking in 92, 93. So that was the the old school bodies they had back then. The street stocks had the big wide tires on them that made them look really cool. He ran a class called Sportsman for 1 year, which really was not too dissimilar from the old oak shade Sportsman rules, where they had the wide tires. They had like the old stock front clip cars, you know.
Yes, sir.
That was again 99. This would have been probably 95. That's what they had in and around the Zanesville area. So that was as close as he came. He ran a stock car, or a street stock bomber, whatever you want to call it. He ran that pretty much the rest of his life up until about 5 years ago. He bought what we call the Kryptonite house car. It was actually one of the first Kryptonite modifieds the Carpenters ever built. Tyler Carpenter took it out and won like 8 million races in it the first year that they had it. He's had that car for the last 4 or 5 years now, and he's got like a checklist of 10 things that he's got to check off before he races, right? Like, it's got to be above a certain temperature. It can't be below a certain temperature. All the grandkids have to be there. You know, if all those boxes get check marked off, he might take the modified out and run it then.
So how come you got into the announcing side as opposed to the racing side?
Well, talent first and foremost, and that's even debatable sometimes, right? I got a face made for radio, actually, so I figure that's part of it. But you see me race, Scott, right? Like, it's
I see. I've been noticing your note over your shoulder there.
Well, I thought that was appropriate. Yeah, I thought that was
the whiteboard. Yeah.
So you participated in our. I think that was the last Celebrate Charity race we ever did.
We brought
could be the reason.
Yeah, I think we broke some things.
Yeah, I think
you didn't. Other people did.
We can blame Clay for that, right? Clay Kurtzbauer, didn't he? Yeah. I think he tore up.
I think he tried to take the wall down, and
he did. He
lost.
Tried to take the wall down. Yeah, he did. But again, the guy that led the most laps in that race. I want to make sure that this is documented on the podcast here, right? Okay. Didn't win, but led the most laps.
Wasn't that because
where did he finish?
I got third. I know that. I think Scott.
Me and Dan Rice wrecked, and I think we got Norm Van Ness in it, and then.
Yeah, I remember
Norm won. I think I finished second.
Norm won. You were second, and I was third. Yeah, and I remember that. I remember I was catfishing around the bottom. I was in Carl Spore's car, and I was not going to take that car off the bottom no matter what. And then with about 3 laps to go, you or Norm, one of the two come. Actually, I think both of you come ripping around the high side. And I thought, well, I can keep up with these guys. That's no problem. And I gave a little too much gas one time getting off the corner, and it probably felt 10 times more sideways than what it actually was. And I was like, oh, no, we'll back off of it. We'll just be happy, keep bringing her home in one piece with a podium finish.
That was actually, I ended up buying that car after.
I know you did. I know.
Yeah. That was my
just
first race.
Imagine if you would have been in Ron's car. Imagine how much
I hated every minute of that, Scott.
Of what? When I was in your car?
No, we won't even go there.
All right.
I don't know about you, but that one sure scared me.
But did you have fun, Dustin, in that race?
Blast. I had an absolute blast, and I would, if the opportunity ever came up again, I would absolutely jump on it. It was a lot of fun. I borrowed a racing suit from John Henry to wear, and it was really cool because it was
the Eldora. The Eldora.
It was.
Race.
That's
That
exactly
was awesome.
what it was. Yeah, he had won the Eldora Track Championship the year before, and back then, and they might still do this. Eldora would give their track champions a brand new race suit and had the giant Eldora logo on it. So I looked, and I was still announcing at Eldora then. So I looked all Eldora official except for the belt, the name thing on the bottom of the belt. It said John Henry on it, and he was 10 times better looking than me. So there was no way that I was going to fool anybody, both in terms of looks or driving talent there.
A little duct tape would hide that.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh, well, look at offers are already coming in
I
for you.
tell you, Tim Conner was going to put me in Jordan's car.
Yeah.
Look, I have a lot of respect for the Conovers. I would never put them in that position. And Andy King has been on me for a long time to race one of his trucks too. So of course I keep seeing that they're all for sale. So I don't know, like $3,500. I could go race one of them. Hell,
there you go. I know Jerry Keyser, who has been on the show with us off and on. He just ended up selling his. And I know he had a lot of fun in that, especially when he went upside down.
I can't imagine Jerry being upside down, though. Oh, boy.
Not for very long, anyway.
Maybe we'll have to revisit. It's been over 10 years, so maybe a
lot of people have forgotten.
Exactly.
Maybe it's time. That's right. That's right.
All right. So now you not only announced, but you're also the global partnership manager. What does that mean?
It sounds really important, doesn't it?
It does.
It's just a made up title that I'm just kidding. So I am basically a middleman for Flow Racing and all of our partnerships, right? So the easiest way to put it is, and that's my full-time job. Announcing's like 3% of what I do. We sign a rights contract, right? And racing rights contracts are not that dissimilar from baseball, football, and other sports right now. There's a series or an event or a track we want the rights to, or maybe they approach us and say, hey, we'd love to have this event or this series on Flow Racing. Our team goes through and they say, okay, well, based on this, that, and the other, we feel as though that we can get this much money out of it. And so we're going to offer you this much money for the rights. Once we sign that rights deal, I'm basically the next person it goes to. And all I'm trying to do is make sure that all the balls are staying up in the air that we're juggling, right? I'm getting the appropriate folks from Flow connected to the appropriate folks with the track or with the series. If there's ever an issue, I'm usually the first person it goes to. 9 times out of 10, I don't have an answer for what has gone wrong or what the issue is, but I do try to diagnose the problem and get back to them. That way they're not bouncing around all over to 800 different people, right? So that's the long and short version of what I do. And again, I mean, announcing is really, really and truly is only a very, very, very small fraction of what I do.
I do a lot of tracks come to Flow Racing to try and get them to cover.
Really, yeah, there really are, man. It's and it's good and bad, right? Like, and again, I say this just being very candid with you guys. We would love to have twice as much as what we have now too. That's the again, if you look at the scale, that's one side of it. The other side kind of balance that out though. You have to take a look at your resources, right? And what's available. It's not necessarily just resources in terms of money. That's resources in terms of other conversations that we've had here, in terms of camera folks, in terms of equipment and everything else. There's only so many capable camera people of going out and doing this. The first time you put someone out there that's not capable, or the first time a broadcast goes down because the equipment isn't up to par, that's not a reflection on the track. That comes back on us, right? And so it's a balancing act in trying to determine what you have the resources and capability to do, but what there's interest in as well, and just trying to balance all of that out. And again, we've been approached by a lot more folks than what we have, and again, we would love to do all of them, but we also don't want to do those folks or that series a disservice by maybe not providing a broadcast that's not up to snuff, and vice versa as well. It works both ways. It's reflection on them, reflection on us. I really and truly, and again, this isn't a homer statement, I really and truly believe Flow's probably at the best point that it's ever been in right now in terms of finding that balance with some really good national stuff, again, like Lucas Oil, like the All-Star Sprints, like USAC, tons of really good asphalt stuff, the NASCAR weekly racing stuff we have. We've got, we just announced a few weeks ago, we got the Cars Tour, the Dale Earnhardt Jr. is back, and we got Smart Modified. So some really good stuff on both sides on kind of a national level, or with national recognition or national flavor to it. And then some really, really great regional stuff too, right? We've got Comp Cam's late models. We've got Ray Cook's Spring and Southern Nationals, IRA sprints, ASCS sprints. So I think it's a really neat balance of things that we have that, no disrespect to any others, but it's really and truly different from what most other folks are offering right now too.
What about?
I've seen some startups too that seem to be doing an okay job. So it's more than just the big two.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot that it's really funny right now because 5 years ago, everything was pay-per-view, right? There was not this buy a yearly subscription and watch it all for $150 or whatever. It was $20 for this race, $40 for this one,
right? Absolutely,
$30.99 there. And everybody complained, why can't we just get one subscription, so it's slowly but surely, that was the model everyone shifted to. Now a lot of the track owners and promoters are thinking, oh, wait a minute, if we do some sort of pay-per-view deal, maybe we can get more money back out of it versus going with someone else. And so that's why you see, Ron, some of these other ones kind of popping up and doing things like that. Certainly not a bad model, but I think that what they end up quickly finding out is there's a lot more to it than just setting a person up on scaffolding and with a tripod and video. Because again, the first time that video goes down, you get a whole new set of problems that you're looking at. Or the first time someone has a credit card issue, right, with trying to buy that, again, you got a whole other set of problems to go through. And so I don't know, maybe it's a sign of my age and getting wiser. But the older I get, the more I realize that my time is worth some money as well, and I want to go with not just the simplest that I can go with. I want to go with the best, the best that I can go with. That's going to elevate myself or my company or my racetrack or whatever it is that I have a stake in.
How many local weekly tracks does Flow cover approximately?
Man, that's a great question that I don't know the answer to. I can tell you that we have, in terms of racing, we partner with about 200 different, again, series and tracks and organizations, et cetera. And even that is kind of a broad swing, right? NASCAR is a great example because, I mean, under that NASCAR weekly racing banner, we've got 12 or 15 racetracks there. In terms of dirt tracks, gosh, I hesitate to mention any because I'm sure that I'm going to leave a few out, but we've got all of Port Royal stuff weekly. Marshalltown, Iowa is one of my favorite racetracks. We have their stuff weekly. We had Lincoln, Pennsylvania weekly. We've actually worked with them to back that down to about 10 select events at Lincoln throughout the course of the year. Brett Deo, we've got all of his racetracks weekly. So that's Utica, Rome, Fonda, Georgetown, and then of course his short track super series as well. Port City, which is weekly micro racing out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have their stuff weekly. So there's a lot of them. And again, I'm forgetting several, right? Not intentionally, but and in the essence of time, those are some of the ones that cover multiple different aspects and layers of racing that we have. And again, we could have really and truly, we could have a lot more than that. But again, it's finding that balance of what works for us, but also what works for them as well, and providing a quality product for the people that are watching at home. And look, and getting back to another point we had, not taking butts out of seats, right? That's not the business we're in, because look, if anybody, Flow, Dirt Vision, Speed Sport, whoever, if we're taking butts out of seats, not only is that not good for the track, that's not good for us either, because that means that track is probably teetering, and I mean, there's a possibility they may not be around. Well, that's certainly not good for us. We're not in the business to run anybody out of business, right? It's quite the opposite. We want to showcase the tracks in the best light that we can possibly showcase them in. Again, going back to our earlier conversation, so that we can get people out to these tracks, so that people watching at home, talking about this balance, right? Showing these tracks in the best spotlight we can show them in, so somebody can say, hot dog, I got to get to Oakshade some Saturday night and watch these guys, watch Devin Shields go out and battle Rusty Schlenk and these other guys and Ron Miller for a late model win,
Did you Google these names ahead of time? Or
No, I still stay very, very, very connected with my Northwest Ohio roots. I read Oakshade's results religiously every week. I read Attica's results religiously every week. Limaland, I still check out Limaland's results. Waynesfield, when they have a race, I do. I Fremont, I really try to stay connected with that stuff as much as I can.
When do you sleep?
Overrated.
What's sleep, right? What's sleep?
Well, mention, I'm sure there's some of our listeners that probably don't have Flow. If somebody wanted to get Flow, since we've been talking about it so much, you go ahead and plug your product.
Give yourself a commercial.
Give myself a commercial break. Yeah, it's super easy. You can go to either flowsports.com or flowracing.com. It's FLO, as you can see on the banner back here behind me, the Flow Racing Night in America banner. It's Flow Racing. It's $150 for the entire year. That gives you all access to everything. There's no pay-per-view models. We don't hold any races back. That $150 gets you access to, other than the King's Royal, every event at Eldora. It gives you access to the Gateway Dirt Nationals, gives you access to every All-Star Sprint race, access to every single USAC race, both USAC National and USAC West Coast. It gives you access to IRA sprints, Comp Cam's late models, NASCAR weekly racing. I mean, at last count, there was well over 2,000 races over the course of a calendar year. It was at one point up above, I think, 2,400. But yeah, that's more racing than I will ever watch in my entire life.
Is it also, doesn't it, I don't know if it still is, but I thought that Flow actually has other sports as well. And you have access to that
Flow's actually
ECHL hockey.
You're exactly right. Yep.
Yes.
Flow's actually got, Go Wheeling Nailers, by the way.
Toledo Walleye.
Walleye.
I've seen many Nailers and Walleye game in my time. But
did I see something that the Nailers are folding after this year?
Boy, I hope not.
I thought I saw something like a month ago, but it might have been. Anyway,
it might be inside information.
I don't think it was inside information. I saw it on a Facebook post, so I thought it had to be true.
Oh, it had to be real.
If you read it on Facebook, it's got to be
yes,
true.
Exactly.
No, Flow, you're exactly right. Flow's got a lot of other sports. Flow hockey, Flow wrestling, Flow track, Flow volleyball, Flow football. There's a ton of stuff on there that really and truly is enough to satisfy any sports fan. And again, I don't really want to sound like a homer, but that is yes, thank you, Dave. The best $150 that you ever spent. But it really and truly is. In a day and age where a lot of people are kind of cutting the cord to TV and things like that, if you are a sports fan of any kind, racing aside, I firmly believe in my heart that Flow is a great resource to watch a lot of cool stuff, and it's underrepresented stuff as well, right? And the people that work in it are super passionate about what we do. It's not just one guy that likes racing that is working in racing. The football stuff are people that love football. The jiu-jitsu stuff are people that love jiu-jitsu. The grappling stuff is people that love grappling, right? So these people that work at Flow, my colleagues, they're really, really passionate about their sports. And as you guys know, and probably everyone watching at home knows too, when you're really passionate about something that you like, I think that passion bleeds through into the work that you do, and it makes a better product. And I firmly believe that.
How close are you guys to getting some in-car cameras?
Man, it's funny that you say that. That conversation actually just came up about a month ago or so. So we did a test on that at Eldora back in 2020 when we had the replacement races, right? When they had the not the Dream, they had the Stream, and not the World 100, they had the Intercontinental Classic. The reason we were able to pull it off there at those particular events is because there was less than 500 people on the grounds, right? There's, you don't have 25,000 people there all on their cell phones and everything else. So the reception, the ability to transmit that into the mobile production studio was a lot easier. To try to do that at an event where you've got any more people than that on the grounds is almost impossible. At least with the technology that groups like Flow and again Speed Sport and Dirt Vision and some of these others have right now. It's coming. It will come at some point, but to the point of the conversation that we've had here today, at least on our side on Flow, we're not going to do anything if we know it's not 100%. We could go out there. We could go out there and try it right now, right? But we're not going to do it unless we know that it's up to our standards and going to really add to a broadcast and add value to the viewers at home.
I thought that the driver's eye camera that NASCAR has showcased the last couple of weeks, pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That is really cool. It's not above the helmet. It's not on the side, but it's right. It's a camera. What they say as big as like your pinky nail or something. Yeah. That's like, it's literally like right here, like right between their eyes, I think, mounted on their, on their helmet. And so that's super cool. That's awesome. Especially like at Daytona. It really gave you a feel for the banking of the racetrack, how close the cars were, and even kind of how
the vibration and the bumps.
Yes, the vibration, exactly.
You don't get that on dirt tracks at all, though.
Never. Every racetrack's super smooth.
Yeah. Well, Dustin, we appreciate the time. Before we let you go, though, I want to mention that usually our guests go on to win their next race. So assuming we can resurrect the celebrity charity race, we'll definitely have you back on. We expect Flow to cover it.
That's right,
do that. We'll have to work out some deal with that for some Flow coverage.
I've spent a lot of time talking about what a quality product I can't think of any better quality product than the celebrity charity race at Oakshade, right? I mean, that is top of the line stuff right there.
That all happened just because I wanted an excuse to get in a race car when I was announcing. It worked for a few years.
Until we went out there and destroyed cars, and then it never happened again. So,
well, like I said, people's memories may not be that long. So
that's right. That's exactly right.
We'll see what we can do.
Well, I mean, and we'd probably have a dozen drivers. Oh yeah, well, let's put DJ in the car.
Well, you've already had offers. So
I've had offers right now. Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
even if Flow can't do it live, I mean, we expect at least a packaged presentation.
Oh no, I want the whole thing, man. I want it to be live. I want the helmet cam right between my eyes. I want to go all in.
There you go. That could be the debut of the in-car camera.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that answers your Raina's question there. She wants to know when you're coming back to Oakshade.
When am I coming back to Oakshade? It's been a few years. I had to look. It was 2020, I think, the last time I was there. So it's been a couple years since I was at the Shade.
Okay.
I miss everybody there. I miss all of you. I miss you guys, the Hendricks. I miss the drivers up there. It's I really and truly do, because it's as both of you know. I mean, back when I was at the house announcer at Eldora from 2010 to 15, when we weren't racing on a Saturday, I mean, I would come to Oakshade. I would come to Oakshade, and I was still doing some writing and stuff for Dirt on Dirt back then as well. So, but I do. I miss it. The folks there, Attica, those tracks, those again. I mentioned earlier, those places will still have they'll always have a special place in my heart.
I should ask you this, because Rick Eshelman used to do Eldora as well. Did you work with Rick directly?
Yeah. Rick and I several different times over the course of the years. Yeah, we did. Rick and I were pretty good friends, actually. He would, we worked together at Eldora, like the Dream and World, those first few years. We collaborated on a few other events after that as well, that we were streaming, live on Dirt back before Dirt on Dirt was acquired by Flow. And Rick and I got to be actually pretty close. He would, he would call me often in between racetracks, more specifically because he knew that much like him, I had an affinity for old closed racetracks, right? And that, as you guys probably know, that was one of his passions. And so he would, it would not be out of the ordinary for my phone to just randomly ring in the middle of the day someday. And I look down and he's calling, and he was just looking to kill time in between visiting a couple old abandoned racetracks. He would tell me all about the tracks, the track that he found or track that he went to, and everything else. The other time that he would call me would be if Blair Nodorf out of Renner, South Dakota was racing. We nicknamed him Snowdrift way back in the day. Rick was as you guys know, Rick was a big nickname guy. He wanted to give everybody a nickname, right? And he and I always talked about that. But he loved that nickname for Blair Nodorf. He loved that we called him Snowdrift. And so anytime that Nodorf would be at a race that he was calling, Rick would immediately pick the phone during registration, mind you, and call me, be like, DJ, Snowdrift is in the house. And so that was, it's little things like that, right, that you miss about someone. They're the obvious things like working together and announcing together, things like that. But the Snowdrift phone calls and then the phone calls in between, those abandoned racetracks, those are admittedly the things that I probably miss most about Rick.
Speaking of abandoned racetracks, that's where I first started announcing was with him at Millstream. Flag City at the time.
Yeah. It's not abandoned. It's just sleeping.
It's.
I know a guy that tried to resurrect that a few years ago.
Yeah. So do we. We know several guys that have tried to resurrect it. We were even involved in part of it. So yeah. And anyways,
I thought honestly, Scott, I thought you were going to say Brian. I thought Brian might have been where you got your start.
That was going to be my next question. Was what about Bryan Motor Speedway? Do you remember Brian?
I never. So I went and visited. That was one. That was an abandoned track that I visited right back in, probably 2003. I went up and checked out what was left of it, but that's
pretty sad.
Yeah, I never got to see a race there, and that was. I mean, again, I only lived in Northwest Ohio from 04 to 14, so for about 10 years, right? But it had closed before the time that I got there, but I did get to go to the site of the track once.
Well, we moved to Bryan from the Cleveland area in like 81, I think it was. And somehow we ended up like a mile from the track. So my dad would take me there every Sunday night and we go watch the races. But we moved away in 87. So I was still in high school, not announcing or anything. So it was closed well before I started any of that.
I did, like you, I did get to call a few races at Millstream though, for Dean back when Dean Miracle.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the other closed ones. I visited Scutch one time, long after it closed. McCutcheonsville. Yeah. Again, never got to see a race there because it closed before I was up that way.
Well, that guy, I think it was Dean Plaxis or something, had purchased it, and I thought it was on its way to being reopened, and then it fell apart.
Yeah, tough to do now anymore, right? Like, it's all the respect in the world to anybody that promotes a racetrack, even more respect to anybody that either opens a new track or resurrects a racetrack, because it's, as we talked about earlier, again, it's not easy. It is not easy at all.
Requires lots of money.
That is, yes. So, hey, you know how you make a small fortune, right? Is you start
with a big one.
Start with a big one and get a racetrack, and then you're left with a small one.
There you go.
You have been listening to the Hammer Down Racing Report, available on demand on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting platform.